Disclaimer, this video in no way, shape, or form supports the actions of Snail Games. I will always support Studio Wildcard and look down on Snail Games for what they're doing to the Ark IP. However, I'm sure many of you viewers are curious to see the new content that has actually been added to Ark Survival Evolved. So over the next 100 days, I'm going to be exploring, taming, and giving my honest thoughts on Aquatica, as well as the situation as a whole. Maybe there are some redeeming qualities to be found deep below the surface here, but I'm probably going to have to do a lot of swimming and crashing to find them. Kipper, we're going to need a lot more than luck to survive this one. I loaded into what should have been a familiar character creation screen, but instead I was greeted by a sunburnt interface, a curious first impression to say the least. Why is it yellow? And the perspective shift on my survivor also caught me off guard. Why am I small? Anyway, oh, I'm being fishy. I am mutated. Why is the lighting messed up? I named my oddly fish-looking man and I spawned into Anniversary Plaza. After scratching my scaly arm, I had to make sure I wasn't gonna play on a PowerPoint slideshow. First thing I'm checking, FPS. I can get down with 50s and 40s. Even Perry got himself a small aquatic reskin. Hello, Perry. The odd yellow interface also included the escape menu and settings, which by the way I had to mess around with because of the new update. If you didn't know, when Aquatica came out, basically broke everything. So I disabled menu transitions and set my temperature to freedom units before dropping an excessive amount of skins that were forced into my inventory. Next, I navigated over to the Ingram page to get started, and I was surprised to see that items got a new look as well. Oh, they reskinned stuff. Okay. Also, this pale yellow UI color was really starting to bug me. Why is my inventory yellow? It weirds me out. Unfortunately, I have to look at it quite often, but anyway, it's actually time to get started on things. So I gave this tree a right and left hook, and then picked up a rock and crafted the so-called coral pickaxe. What is that? Mud puppy. The first new creature that I spotted, and it's a passive tame. I did try and feed it mayho berries, but it didn't seem to be vegan. No. Maybe they eat meat. I have this pickaxe. See, this pickaxe does look cool. That's another thing, dude. For this, Aquatica as a whole being a cash grab from Snail Games, to not release it on console, top 10 worst ideas of all time from being Snail Games. I don't know. You can't save that company. They're idiots. At the very least, they put some effort into the DLC, as these new tools do look pretty cool. See, the spears look cool, but they would look even cooler when put to good use, so I walked up to a dodo and killed it. Oh my god. On my first try, of course. I made sure not to hit the parry while harvesting the dodo's corpse, as I was planning on taming it. I also tried to feed the mud puppy some raw meat, but once again, it declined my offer. Oh, what did they eat? How am I supposed to know what you eat? Anywho, I packed up another dodo and opened up the Ingram page to unlock the cloth set adrift. Now, there was also a new pair of kicks on the menu called boot weights. The description read metal weights, however, I couldn't help but notice that they were crafted with 5 pieces of stone and some fiber. Boot weights allow walking on the ocean floor. Interesting. Let's make up a set of cloth. It's not too warm or cold here. It's actually quite nice. Now, with a new set of cloth made, I suited up and I now looked like a proper scallywag. See, like this looks cool. Like, it doesn't look bad by any means. Yeah, it still should never happen, but we're here now. We're playing. We're gonna try to make the best of it. What was that? Oh, it's one of these things. A Diplocaulus might actually come in handy here, as it can provide oxygen in the ocean as an early game alternative to scuba gear. Plus, they're just a simple knockout tame. Oh, had an FPS stutter. What is that? Oh, it's another one of these mud puppies. Anyhow, I wanted to make a few extra spears to go hunting with, so I got to chopping down a few trees before walking straight into a trap. Oh, what is this? What is this? What is this? Is this a clam? So apparently there's hungry seashells now that suck your toes when you get too close to them. Oh, that actually scared me. However, they could be harvested for black pearls, fish meat, and Achatina paste, which is just a fancy form of beaver tax. Anyways though, I did have to relog real quick as I didn't have my damage numbers on. If you couldn't tell, all my settings got reset by the Aquatica update. Anyway, when I loaded back in, I was met with a strange box on the bottom right of my screen. Back to the mission though, I guess that thing just doesn't matter. I whacked another rock and tree and then picked some fiber and made 5 more spears in total. 2 of those spears ended up in the cerebellum of a couple of dodos, as I always need more height. And that's when I spotted a Phiomia way off in the distance. So I unlocked a couple of primitive technology gadgets such as a bola and bow. What level are you, my friend? Level 25? Okay, I gotta tame this for a parry. There's no way I don't. I need a friend right now. I'm in enemy territory. I'm in Snail Games Ark. I also had a feeling that the toe-licking seashells were not the only new threat added with Aquatica, so it was smart to stay armed to the teeth. Now with the bolus crafting, I unlocked and made a couple of wooden clubs so I could start the befriending process. Come here, Perry. Gonna tame you. Okay, the club's texture is messed up. That's interesting. Numerous amounts of head bonks later, the pink Perry went to sleep, so I fed him some Mayho berries. Of course, I had to make him a saddle as well, so I unlocked the engram to see what I was missing. Just need fiber. I can do that. Perry, day 1. What is this water pressure? Oh, okay, so I think the lower you go in the water, since obviously most of the map's underwater, more pressure there is. The Parasaur were tame, so of course I named it Perry and then saddled him up. So obviously I'm not going to spend much time on land. It's really just until I get my first water mount. That also meant I had to kill any dodos that I'd see straight away, as I would lose the opportunity to do so later. Anyway, as I was saying, I want to find a good spot where there's a big chunk of ocean next to some dry land like this, so I can set up a permanent base type thing. Really don't know how I'm going to get my first water tame, and how am I going to breathe underwater? Sure, I look scaly and stuff, but pretty sure I'm still going to lose oxygen. As I got closer to the vast ocean, I pulled out my FPS counter once again, as I could feel the power point creeping up. Anywho, it's time to dip my feet into the water and see what we're working with here. Oh, you swim fast. Okay, you still lose oxygen. It also looked much clearer than Ark's other oceans. And there was also a mud puppy just floating about. Now, I really want to figure out how to tame one of these, as they might be a crucial starter tame. Just before the end of the day, let's make a campfire. Start cooking food. Can't place structure here. So on day 2, I ran around the area trying to place a campfire down. I even tried going into the ocean, but I just wasn't allowed to place it. I just can't make a campfire. Okay. Anyways, it just dawned on me that maybe the mud puppies eat fish. On that note, I impaled an unsuspecting coelacanth, and I tried to find that mud puppy again. Oh, there's ichthyos over there. Okay, I could try and tame those. What are you? You're a new fish. I don't think that one does much. So I hopped back on Perry and headed towards land to find another mud puppy. Oh, yeah, they do take fish. Okay. There was another mud puppy as well as this one, and that was a level 85, so I started taming that as well. I want the 85. Screw that guy. I followed the oversized axolotl around until I could feed it and get it tamed up. Come on, bro. I know you want the fish. Boom. Pepperoni. I got Pepperoni up and around my neck, and I noticed a new buff appear down on the right side of my screen. Oh, oxygen bonus? Oh, okay. Yeah, I told you. I think these guys would be useful. I then returned to Perry, and we waddled back over to the beach, where I had to munch down on a few berry bushes, since I'm still not allowed to place a campfire so I can cook food. Moving on, after diving into the ocean, I checked my oxygen stat, and it was dropping considerably slower. So I swam over to those itchies that I saw earlier and started feeding the bright red one. Come on. Let me feed you. Boom. What is that plant? Those are bubbles. Bubbles mean oxygen. My intuition was correct, and it's called plant species W, and when I press E on it, I got a new buff. Highly oxygenated water. Oh yeah, my oxygen went back up. Did it get my stamina up too? So these plants were the answer to my question about breathing underwater. Anyways though, I also want to make those boot weights so I could walk around down here. And surprisingly, I could actually place a campfire down here as well, but I couldn't light it for obvious reasons. Anywho, I unlocked the itchy saddle engram and I continued feeding the 2 itchies. Oh, there's lava in the water. How does that work? Boom. Okay, let's get back to shore. I need to make an ichthy saddle. Now we can start exploring. Oh no, those Genesis tornado things I hate those things. I fed the red itchy once more, and I swam up to one of those narwhals, and I got prompted to ride it. So of course, I whistled my dolphin to stay put and then hopped on it. I think I gotta eat fish. I gotta eat fish with it. I think that's what I have to do. I don't know what I have to do. Eat fish. Yes, you just have to eat fish with it. The mechanic itself was pretty cool, as you first had to spear them on its horn and then eat it for taming progress. I won't lie, I do like this mechanic. I impaled and ate 2 more fish, and the monodon ended up taming. Boom, I got it. Oh sweet, now I can just ride this. 13,000 health. These things are strong, and they're fast. I could swim around on it without a saddle, but it did actually have one, so I unlocked it, but after looking at the crafting requirements, I probably would have to make one later. Okay, Ichies, I'm sorry I'm abandoning you, but this guy is definitely cooler. Since they were such an easy tame, I wanted to see if I could get a higher level. Oh, the volcano's erupting. The monodon also had a buff up at the right corner. Low pressure acclimation, which slightly increased melee damage, stamina regen, and experience. This is probably similar to how basilos heal quicker near the surface and take damage in deep oceans. Anyways, it's time to get exploring, so I dove under and swam towards the vast ocean. This map is huge. That looks like an air bubble down there. How do I get metal? I just hear an OSD. They're falling into the ocean. Yeah, I see them. What? There were a few more monodons around here, so I got close to see their level. And I also spotted what looked like to be a hammerhead shark. So that's my cue to return back up to the beach for now and figure out how to keep progressing. So far, I won't lie, this is fun. Sirens, or Studio Sirens, they did so far, this is interesting gameplay. This is where I'll start kind of talking about the situation a little bit. Any, I don't want to say hate, but any distaste or negative feedback should definitely go towards Snail Games, not Siren Studios. They were paid to do a job. Everything goes towards Snail Games. Anyways, I tried to place the campfire somewhere unsuccessfully as expected, but I found these coral rock looking nodes. At first, I thought it could be crystal, but when I whacked it, I just got plain stone. So the only reasonable set of events that could occur next would of course be to dome a random dodo. On a side note, I didn't name my narwhal, so I returned back to doing that. They are interesting looking, that's for sure. Nugget. Alright, Nugget, stay there. I gotta go find somewhere where I can place this campfire and set up a temporary shack. Now my stomach is really starting to rumble a bit, so I've got to find a spot soon. But no matter what I tried, land was not an option for building. Yeah, what? You just can't build anywhere on land. How am I supposed to place a campfire then? I don't know if this is intentional or a glitch. I'm thinking it's gotta be a glitch though. I did try to turn PvE mode on and off, but that didn't change anything. One place I could try and build out would be that air bubble that I saw way down in the ocean. And being as hungry as I was, I hopped on the back of Nugget and we continued the ocean exploration. Ooh, taking some hits to the FPS here. Man, this place is huge. The bubble was a bit far away, but I didn't really have any other idea, so I'd swim down there slowly. Dude, there's a volcano underwater. How's that work? Pressure acclimation. What does this mean? I'm gonna keep going. It can't be that bad. As I got closer to the bubble, Nugget got a debuff called Pressure Sickness level 1, which slightly weakened him due to the changing pressures too quickly. However, I couldn't wait around for too long as my oxygen was rapidly depleting. Oh, so do you just have to wait? I guess there's just different levels. So I arrived at the bubble and I found this pretty neat parking spot for Nugget. Boom! I am under the water. Please help me. As anticipated, I could actually place a campfire down here and finally cook up some food. See, that looks pretty cool. Looks really cool. Okay, end of day 2. A lot of progress, that's for sure. Little scared to venture over that way though. That's for sure. But after munching on an S-tier steak on day 3, I picked up all the courage that I would need to go and explore this mysterious underwater bubble. Alright, pepperoni, we're venturing this way. I ran over to the edge of this extinction looking ring, but I was met with a big drop down that I definitely didn't want to fall into. This looks... Oh, there's land creatures down here. There's Rex is down. Oh, there's metal. I did see a way to get on the opposite side of the bubble though, so I ran back to Nugget. And then I demolished my campfire before hopping on to swim around. What is that up there? Okay, get back down to the floor. The ocean floor is safe. I also had to hide Nugget somewhere to hopefully keep him safe. Back in this little crevice. Okay, Nugget, you stay there. I'll keep him on neutral just in case. Going back into the bubble, I ran down the ramp and visited the engram page to unlock all the necessities. Oh, seaweed foundations that aren't made out of seaweed. Interesting. Anyways, I picked up a few bushes and whacked a tree for thatch and then made a few seaweed foundations, walls, and ceilings. Since I was only making a simple starter shack, I didn't bother with looking for the perfect spot, and I started constructing it right here on this ledge. Oh, these plants don't even have textures. Okay. Nice, dude. Nice. I finished the construction of my 2x2 shack, but I couldn't get to the metal grind just yet as I was only level 17. I need to make cooking pots. Ark XP. I also made a new campfire which I placed inside my abode to start cooking more meat. Now I could unlock the refining forge and smithy, and then check on a few new engrams added in Aquatica. It's a hydrosphere. Generate an air bubble. Interesting. Then, okay, what is this? Red Magic Astra Gaming Tablet. I did not see anything about this in the update notes. Oh, it says it's actually not an engram, but it's a slick new gaming device. The Red Magic Astra Gaming Tablet features a Snapdragon 8 Elite processor, so every game, task, or app runs with maximum speed and quality. And Ark Mobile is the perfect candidate for testing, and this beast can handle it with ease. Not to mention, it's also super lightweight. Wait a minute, was that Snail Games? Anyway, as I was saying before I was rudely interrupted, the Red Magic Astra Gaming Tablet is extremely lightweight, so prolonged gaming sessions are never tiresome. The design of the Astra is also super sleek, featuring a tiny 4.9mm bezel and a crazy looking ISX cooling system that Red Magic is known for. Now, if you're wondering how big the Red Magic Astra Gaming Tablet is, here are the dimensions. Now, this might not accurately help you visualize how much space this thing actually takes up, so here it is compared to my mud puppy. Well, I was gonna tell you more about the beastly tablet, but it looks like my mud puppy has decided it's his now. Good thing I have a special link down below where you can pick up another one of these puppies. You can get your hands on one of these portable gaming machines using my link in the description or pinned comment down below. All the specs, color configurations, and eye-watering graphics can be found there, reinforcing the need for this tablet. So pick up the Red Magic Astra gaming tablet today for yourself using my link down below, but just make sure to keep it away from your mud puppy. There's no telling what they might do to it.
了解详情请按0。
With new structures came new resources as well, such as hardened steel ingots and manganese, whatever that is. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. What is kibble mash? They added some stuff. Okay, this could get interesting. Before worrying about any of that though, I had an addiction to feed. So I made the forge and got to smacking up a metal node for just a few pieces of raw metal. I then returned back to the crib to place down the forge and start cooking. Meanwhile, I chopped down another tree to get wood for the campfire and forge. Now, next up on the list, of course, was the smithy. I increased the melee damage on this guy. Will it get me better, like oxygen? You know? Anywho, I did a quick relog to disable structure placement collision and place the smithy next to the forge. Textures not working. Yeah, the textures didn't load properly, so for now everything just looks scuffed, I guess. Anyways, I did make a metal pickaxe nonetheless. I then whacked up a metal node with that until I could barely move, and then all the while a Rex was slowly but surely creeping up on me. As long as I'm in my base before it sees me, I think I should be good. But if it sees me go into the thatch base, it's just gonna eat the base and I'm cooked. I waited inside for a bit, but it kept getting closer, which was slightly concerning. I then crafted a metal hatchet as well before heading outside. I ran back up towards the edge of the bubble where I found this interesting looking rock, so I smacked it up once and I got a couple of new resources. Manganese. The description said it could be cooked in a forge to improve the strength of metal ingots. Huh, okay. I need some water. Thankfully though, water is pretty common down here in Aquatica, so I just dipped my head into the ocean and took a sip. Now coming back down towards base, I first unalived a random parasaur for hide, then swiftly ran inside to avoid getting spotted by that Rex. Now looking at the engram page, I was one level off of what looked to be a trident. So curious, I went out to farm up a cooking pot, which did put me up to level 25. Yeah, trident. Ooh, crossbow too. To make a crossbow, I just needed a little bit of fiber. With my weaponry now upgraded from the Stone Age, I felt a little more confident in exploring the area. I did, however, though, change my mind up pretty quickly when this guy appeared out of nowhere. Time to go. Time to go. Time to go. Time to go. Let's go check in on Nugget. Wait, where's Mud Puppy? Pepperoni. Yeah, I may or may not have left him inside my seaweed shack, so I ran back to get him. Where is Pepperoni? Yeah, after that relog, Pepperoni just kind of vanished. So I ran over to check on Nugget to make sure he didn't pull a Houdini either. And Nugget's still here. Loading back in on day 4, the campfire and forge textures were back to normal, but Pepperoni was still nowhere to be seen. Also, that manganese that I put in the forge cooked into hardened steel ingots. Yeah, Pepperoni's just gone. I don't know why. Let's make some hide, or scale, I should say. The new hide armor looked pretty demure and, well, scaly. Looks pretty cool, won't lie. I was still baffled on how Pepperoni completely disappeared, but I actually needed a mud puppy to traverse this map. So I made a quick plan which consisted of getting metal for my forge to cook, and then heading out to go and find a new mud puppy. Oh, I should make a bed before anything. Yeah, die. I also wanted to make a second forge, so I initiated hunt mode once again as I did need more hide for that. I'm not seeing any crystal at all down here. Kinda rough. Anywho, I spotted a parasaur down in the lower parts of the bubble, so I ran down there to confront it. With hide acquired, I headed back up to first get a sip of the ocean and then farm up a little bit of stone to craft the second forge. Making another forge, better metal production. I also chopped up a couple of trees to fill up both the forges, and I got back to farming metal. At this point, I was pretty sure I would never see Pepperoni again, and his whereabouts would stay a mystery. So after throwing the metal into my forges, I ran back to Nugget. I'm gonna have to find those plants. Those are gonna have to keep me alive. I'm gonna have to be quick and smart with this. I swam up a little bit, but I saw exactly 0 plants nearby, so I had to swim back down to catch my breath. On my second try, however, I decided to just send it and aim straight for the surface. How am I overheating? I'm in water. Tell me I can make it to the surface. Come on. It's so close, but so far. I think I can make it. Surprisingly, I didn't get the pressure change debuff, but I did actually manage to get up to the surface just before losing all of my oxygen. Oh, I made it. I made it. Okay. Yeah, mud puppies are definitely a must-have on this map. So I swam all the way back to shore where Perry was patiently waiting for me. Hello, Perry. Okay. I'm back. To get fish meat, I clapped a couple of Sterolopus fish, whatever that is. I also got a new resource called fish scale, which basically kind of just works like hide. Anyways, I then parked Nugget on the shore and hopped on the back of Perry to go find another mud puppy. Oh, 130? No, my mud puppy! Turns out these adorable axolotls also fight back, but that Dilo hitting it completely reset my taming progress. So on the early morning of day 5, I followed little bro around with fish meat, feeding him until he finally tamed. Hey, pepperoni. Let's try not to lose this one. Let's go back. I want to tame a really good monodon now. I've got Nugget, but I want like a 150. That thing was so easy to tame, might as well go for a good one. I also need to get Crystal or Spyglass, that'd make stuff easier. So I once again had to abandon Perry on the beach and go back down into the ocean to find me a high-level narwhal. There's so many plants right here, why aren't they down there when I need them? Anywho, I checked the levels of a few monodons by assaulting their personal space, but all of them were just mid. So there's an actual Bassie. Shortly after that, I did actually find a really good level monodon. Oh yeah, 135, that's what I'm looking for. And it wasn't alone either. Right behind me was another level 135, and this one was a female. There's two 135s. So I jumped up on one of them and got to spearing innocent fish. Oh, whale. Let's go tame this other one too. But first, I need to catch my breath, and luckily there was a plant species W nearby. A W plant that came in clutch. Anyways, after regaining my oxygen, I looked around a bit, but I couldn't see the other 135 monodon. So I decided to just go back down to the air bubble with Whale and Nugget for now. I even found a really cool looking parking garage for them to chill out at. Coming, bro? You two protect each other. Now, when I returned to the bubble, the first thing I did was of course farm some metal. Guys, the addiction is not that bad, I swear. Man, I need to find some way how to level up quicker, because I'm level 30 and I'm farming up a bunch of metal, but there's no explore notes or anything on this map. I'm not too sure what to do here. What I could do is upgrade my fragile seaweed shack into a proper stone accommodation. So I unlocked the engrams, but a new problem arose. So a Dodic, I don't even know if they spawn on this map, and those would be like impossible to even get or really use because you can't transport them with an RG, obviously. Okay, I think I know what I need to do, and that is literally just swim around the map and see what's on the map. The map's huge. I've got to see what creatures I can tame, what I can use, what bosses there are. I don't know what bosses there are. Me and Pepperoni, dude. Pepperoni and I against the world. Pepperoni and I against Snail Games. That's what's gonna happen here. To prepare for any major journeys, I first needed food, so I fired up my campfire once again and unlocked the mortar and pestle engram. I quickly farmed up on it and slapped it down under my smithy and looked inside to find even more new stuff. What's that? Oh, power machinery. What's a barnacle? What is crystallized wood? With a so-called aquilarium, you could power electrical structures underwater. Don't ask me about the safety of that, but you can do it now in Aquatica. Anyways, this new type of gas also requires new resources, which of course I didn't know how to get just yet. What I did know, however, is to cook up some narcotics, so I queued up some of that before heading out to collect more berries by hand. Waking up on the morning of day 6, I switched over to third person to find that my mud puppy has once again been sent to the Shadow Realm. What? Just as his predecessor, Pepperoni V2 left no trace of himself anywhere. Not inside my shack, not visible on my shoulder, not dead in the tri-blogs, just straight up banished into the back rooms for eternity. Why is my mud puppy gone again? To be fair, I don't really blame either of the Pepperonis for wanting to get off this map. After all, it is Snail Games territory. Moving on, I quickly ran back up to the ocean to check on my monodons. I can't live down here if my tames just disappear every time I relog. Thankfully, the narwhals were fine, both Nugget and Ware were chilling right where I left them. Alright, well, I guess I'm moving. I gotta find somewhere else to live. I brought them out of the garage as I now needed to get back up to the surface to tame yet another mud puppy so I can even explore the vast ocean waters without drowning. Alright, let's see what all I can carry, I guess. Average Snail Games experience. I guess this is what I signed up for. Inside my smithy, I had a ton of metal ingots that would be really handy, especially this early on. So I had to completely clear out my inventory of every single item, including the ones on my hotbar so I could even move carrying all the metal. I'm gonna go put this into Nugget. Luckily, Nugget was also a bit on the heavier end of the spectrum, so he could carry the metal without much issues. I'm assuming my mud puppies are just falling through the world. But I don't understand how that happens, cause I threw this guy out on a foundation. Just to make sure that my theory was actually correct, I gathered my inner chi and used all my powers to phase through the ground to see if either of the Pepperonis were down there chilling. But I don't know. Yeah, maybe they really were sent to the back rooms. On that note, I grabbed most of my important resources, and it was time to leave this cursed place in hopes of finding a better and more permanent home for this challenge. Alright, well I'm pretty confident I know that I can just swim up to the surface and then go tame another mud puppy. I mounted Whale and immediately looked straight up towards the surface. And of course, I made it up there just before running out of air in my lungs. Would there be any other air pockets? And then would I even trust them? I can't even build on this land over here. Let's swim over here. I've never been over here. I wonder if I can build here. As I inched closer to said here, my FPS started to tank pretty heavily. But on the bright side, I found a ton of crystal, which I of course was in need of. Surely there's nothing that can stop me from just getting some, right? I gotta try and grab some real quick. Eels and jellyfish. Where is Nugget? After surfacing, Nugget kind of just popped back into existence. And I got close to the land, but the creatures I saw in there didn't look too welcoming. This area is definitely a little dangerous. Nugget managed to get himself beached, so I had to help him out a little. We then swam over to the left side of this beach that looked to be a bit safer. Oh, I need fish meat so I can tame my mud puppy. Stay here, Nugget. I then forcefully impaled and digested an unsuspected coelacanth and ran back up to land in search of mud puppies. So, how is there an itchy here? Whatever, I'm not gonna ask questions. Looking around this interestingly shaped island, I didn't see any mud puppies. So instead, I decided to switch side quests for a little bit. Alright, I need to go try and get that crystal over there. Still need to find a mud puppy somewhere. Hopping back on whale, I swam back down to farm the crystal, and I smacked up some before checking how much I actually needed for a monodon saddle. Unfortunately though, a couple of jellyfish emerged from the walls in typical Ark fashion and started harassing whale. It doesn't look like they're doing much damage. Whoa! Oh, they're just coming out the mesh. Luckily though, whale got out of their electric grasp, but now the eels were also swarming us and I was drowning, so we had to go back up to shore. Alright, whale should be able to deal with those. He swam up to me in one piece, so I hopped on the back and swam out to the ocean, where I soon got ambushed again. But since I was actually mounted on whale now, I could actually fight back. And as I clapped one of the eels, his little bro thought he could dip on me. Nah, you're not running now. With those now taken care of, I quickly smacked up the rest of the crystal for a saddle and swam back up to shore. Okay, I need to get some hide so I can make this guy a saddle. FPS does not like it up here. Boom, monodon saddle. Now with the leftover crystal, I wanted to make a spyglass. So I unlocked the engram to see that I was only missing some wood. Dude, these trees don't have textures. Oh, jeez, dude. Rough times. Rough times. Snail Games experience at its finest. With the spyglass now made, I returned back to whale to continue my search for mud puppies. I then swam over to more rocky islands, but even these had no mud puppy inhabitants. The only place I knew where I could get them was all the way back where I spawned in Tame Perry, so I started heading back over there. There's Nugget, I'm just gonna leave him there for now. I arrived on the early morning of day 7. Hey, where are the mud puppies? Bro, there's just like nothing. So I swam over to the other side where I left Perry. Perry, what's up, dude? Leave me alone! Hopping back on Perry, we jogged through the literal extinction city, then the beaches, and we even ventured out to this little palm tree forest, but still no pupperoni airs were to be found. I did, however, spot a tech parasaur, which I had to go and drop since it could hook me up with electronics and liquid freedom. Looking over to my side, I spotted a second one as well, but I was out of bolas, so I quickly ran over to a rock to smack that up to get some stone and craft a pair.
Stop it.
Going over to a river running across this island, I spotted what looked to be a mud puppy from afar, but upon getting closer to it, it seemed like his long-lost older cousin or something. No, what is that? You're not a mud puppy. What are you? Play hide and seek? The so-called Tic Tac did a little goofy dance, then covered his enormous eyeballs, indicating it was my turn to hide. I think I gotta hide? So I crouched just behind this rock and I waited to see to what was about to happen. Is it counting? What's it, dude, what's it doing? It's just jiggling its butt over there. When it stopped twerking, I could see a new seeking buff on my HUD. Oh yeah, it's looking. That soon turned into a found buff with a timer. Oh, it found me. Alright, wait, what happens if you found me? Oh, I want it to find me. So this new taming method was actually pretty cool. And the second time around, I hid in a better spot and the seeking timer had ran out before it found me. Still, the buff turned into found and I could run up and feed it the same way as before. It's counting again. I ran back to the spot I just hid at and waited for it to start seeking again to test something. So what happens if I just run up to it? Yeah, you don't have to wait the whole time, you can just feed it. So I waited for the seeker timer to start again, and ran up and fed it for the final time. I had to throw some of my stuff over to Perry as I was pretty heavy. Now hopping on the back, I wanted to see what this thing could do. It was pretty good at swimming as expected, but it could also jump on land, which looked pretty goofy. Oh, pearls. I grabbed a few, but some of them were glitched and I couldn't actually pick them up. I don't know. This thing's cool, but like, it's not that good. I still need a mud puppy. So I left the professional seeker at the river and got back on Perry to continue the search for Pupperoni the Third. I should kill this. I also ran right by one of those hungry seashells while running over to a parasaur, but I didn't get grabbed this time, so I could exercise my Second Amendment rights in peace. I also restocked on bolas and found more pearls in the river. Before I found another mud puppy though, I found the third tech parasaur roaming this island. I just can't find any. I'm wondering if stuff just isn't spawning correctly. I feel like I really should have seen one by now. Yeah, as much as I tried going back and forth around the whole island, I was not seeing a single mud puppy. Dude, I guess this is just the Ark Aquatica experience. You just can't find what you're looking for. And often, if you do find what you're looking for, it gets swallowed whole by the map's demons or something. Anyways, after half a lap around the beach, I decided it was time to intervene in the Ark God's forces. This means I was gonna force a dino wipe by myself to try and get some new mud puppies to spawn. I probably could have circled this map 15 times over and over and not found a single mud puppy, so basically, I have to do this. Now, shortly after the forceful deletion of every wild living being from the face of this ark, I got back on Perry to waddle around the island once again. Yeah, okay, Dino Wipe was the move. 130. I also ran right up to a level 145, so I started taming that instead. This dude's taking forever to want to eat. Oh, as I say that. I named this one Pepperoni V3 of course, and I ran back to Perry to bonk a random bush and then eat a bunch of berries to silence my thirst. Now finally, as the day was nearing its end, I returned back to Whale. Alright, now I'm gonna have to explore underwater, see what my building options are, because obviously I can't build in the only underwater bubble that I know of. So my team's just disappeared, that's insane. Alright. Let's go. I set back out to the ocean on day 9. Go exploring, go out into the world, see what I can find. I want to go to that obelisk way down there. I still had to stay close to the plant species W things. This is how you can build underwater probably. Plant these at your base because you get stamina and oxygen. Anyways, I started heading towards the sunken obelisk, but then a different part of the map caught my attention. See, what's this down here? Why is it like green down here? It honestly looked more like poison clouds than water, and as I got closer to the ocean floor, I found out that said poison clouds weren't too far from the truth. Are these dead dinos? Oh, there's crabs down there. Whoa, whoa, Brian, corrosive area. Oh, it's taking my oxygen. Being down there for just a few seconds, my oxygen had completely drained to the point of no return. Yeah, the green brine area took the mud puppy buff off me as well. But I did throw him off my shoulder, and picking him back up, I did get the buff again, so I was still suffocating, this time just at a slower rate. Surely I don't know, maybe I can make it. Come on. I don't know. Oh yeah, I'm making this. And just like that, I found myself back at the air bubble, exactly where I didn't want to go. Anyways, I leveled melee damage on Pepperoni V3 in hopes that it would strengthen the water buff. Now before heading back out to explore, I waited around to heal up a bit. Okay, I need to level up. I think there might be something. I think this is what I need. Place the hydrosphere underwater to generate an air bubble. It also worked in reverse by placing it on land so it could create a water bubble. Okay, so this is how you build underwater. It's like a vacuum type thing. And then you barnacle? How do you get barnacles and crystallized wood? The hydrosphere definitely looked like the way to go. However, I still had to figure out where I could actually farm those new resources. Because obviously I want to build underwater. I don't want to build on land. I prefer to build in here, but I can't, obviously. Okay. After a little bit of head scratching later, I devised a quick plan of action. I'm actually going to stick around here for a little bit. Let's go back to my old base. Just down here. As long as I don't log out, my mud puppy and everything should be okay. Pretty quickly, I had to turn right back around though, as there was a whole alpha raptor and his gang patrolling the area now. Really? That foils my plans a bit. Turning back around, I instead shifted my focus on figuring out how to obtain crystallized wood and barnacles. Now, these tall seaweeds looked promising, so I swam up to them and I smacked one. Oh, these just give wood. I'm very confused. I hopped back on Whale and started swimming around the dome, looking for odd plants or anything that seemed like a new resource. Going back inside the bubble on the opposite side to my humble abode, I looked around to see if I could get down from any other side. There's really only land entrances over there. There's the Alpha Raptor. I need the resources down here, man. I needed to get back home though, so I hopped back on Whale and swam around the bubble once again. Since it was still being camped, I swam a couple of pillars to the side where it looked like I could get down from without breaking my kneecaps. But getting back up would be a different story. Maybe this isn't a way down then. That's really the only way down over there. And it's guarded by the Alpha Raptor. Bruh. I had to devise some sort of strategy to get back there. A very near future problem for pretty much present me. This is a problem for right now. Waking up on day 10, I actually had Pepperoni waiting for me inside the bubble and not in the back rooms. Pepperoni's here. I decided to dig through the internet and do a little bit of research about the new resources so I could actually start working towards the hydrosphere. I found out what I need to do to get the hydrosphere and then to power it. So first, I'm gonna have to make a carving knife. This is how you make barnacles. For a carving knife, I needed raw metal and wood. So back to trying to access my base once again. Holy floating resources. I'm sure this was intentional. I do need metal. Okay, wait, hold up. And then this stuff, these gray trees, this should be the crystallized wood. Yeah, it is. Boom. A few guides are fine finally starting to come out for Aquatica, obviously, because pretty much no one is playing it. This video is kind of just a report on what Aquatica is, what all they actually added. Anyways, I entered the bubble again, but found no way down. I did, however, spot a tech parasaur, so of course I deprived it of its natural resources. Swimming around more floating resources, I ran into the bubble once again, and this time I was actually able to find the ramp leading down to my base. Of course, it was still being camped by the raptor gang though. Alpha would be really good to kill. If I could like get it in a stone one by one, I could probably kill it. The problem were all the other smaller raptor gang members. They were pretty high level too. I could make a sleeping bag and just use myself as a sacrifice. I have a bed, right? That being said, I crafted up a sleeping bag and placed it. And I made a parachute as well so I could lead all the raptors as far as possible. Oh puppy, you stay there. Alright, sacrifice time. Oh, I forgot I'm a fishy boy. Now, running down to the ramp, I managed to jump into a rock and get stuck for a second. Thankfully, though, I was actually able to get out. Dude, okay, I thought I was stuck. I then slowly got closer to the ops, but there were so many of them scattered everywhere, so I had to try and get all of them aggro to me in one sprint. I then jumped off the cliff and I sent it right into the middle. Everybody's attention, come on. Nobody's attention? How did I just survive that? But as soon as I tried to even step foot inside my base, I got spotted by the whole gang. And I got chased off the cliff, so of course I opened up my parachute. Everybody, I got everybody off. Yes! Now while gliding, I gracefully flew above a group of stegos that just clapped a whole Rex, and the raptors were headed straight for them. I might be able to survive this. Since I lost them, I just jogged back up the base. I'm kind of thinking that they fixed the glitch where if I log out, my tames disappear because my mud puppy was here. I really hope they did. I think I have to test it. I'm really not trying to tame another pupperoni, but I might have to. For now, I grabbed all of my stuff, pupperoni V3 included, and ran back home to store it all. The stuff still isn't rendering down here, which makes me think no, that it's not fixed. So I don't think I'm gonna test it. So the plan remained to craft up that hydrosphere. But first things first, I had to go out and get some wood to craft that carving knife. I also needed manganese, which you can farm from those darker orangey looking nodes. When I returned, I threw exactly 12 pieces into my smithy, and I split the rest between my forges to cook into hardened steel. Just need paste. If I farm up a little bit of stone, I should be able to just make some and then make a hydrosphere. And I'm not sure how big it'll be, but I think I want to build my base with it. But I might have to make two, to be honest, just because I got to test with the first one. Back at the crib, I threw said stone into my mortar and pestle, and I cooked up the 5 required pieces of cementing paste to make my first hydrosphere. The fuel itself was pretty expensive too, needing 2 barnacles, 2 crystals, and 3 oil apiece. Let's go find barnacles. I'm pretty sure I can just find them towards the surface. But before going out, I grabbed the cooked meat from my campfire. I then hopped on Nugget to go look for barnacles. What is that? What? That is terrifying. Looking at the guide, I was shown a spot with a bunch of barnacles, but it was really far, but I decided to go for it anyway. Is it OSD? Ah, it's crazy. See, I think Ark Ascended definitely needs an underwater map. I think Ark as a whole has needed this for a while, but obviously not the way it should have been executed at all. But I would really like to see a DLC Ark underwater map. That would be sick. I am enjoying Aquatica so far, I will say though. Definitely has its issues. Still definitely screws snail games. At this point, there's nothing that can redeem that company, and yes, I will be slandering them until the end of time. Oh, here are barnacles, right here. To harvest them, I had to pull out my carving knife and just start swinging. Oh yeah, might as well get a lot. With that acquired, I swam back up to fill up my lungs with air, and that's where I saw a literal OSD just chilling on the beach. Just straight up just an OSD right there. Now going back underwater, I also wanted to stock up on crystals since that's also necessary for Aqualirium. However, it was being guarded by a few eels though, so I had to fight my way to it. You were not running away. And I just got above 100 crystal before starting to head back to my abode. I arrived on day 11 and ran inside to get the Aqualirium crafting, but I couldn't help but notice the massive amount of screen shaking caused by a Bronto outside. Alright, this Bronto is being a little much. Boom! It so crafts 5 at a time. Now, let's go experiment with this hydrosphere. I ran back up to Whale and I selected the hydrosphere to see how big it actually was. Okay, so it's a pretty big area. However, I know once I place it, I can't pick it up. So now I could go around the map and actually find where I wanted to base permanently, as I could build really anywhere. Someplace like this would be cool. I definitely want to build center in the map. Central, I should say. But I also need a place that's safe to keep my water dinos out, because terrors like that stuff just everywhere. Just a few moments later, I spotted a whole grown Reaper as well, an Abyssal Reaper King. That's a whole Reaper. That is a whole Reaper. Their spawns definitely just aren't working right, because I know the Abyssal Zone is way below us. In all honesty, I really wanted to build in the already existing bubble since it had access to a bunch of free resources. But having my tames disappear after every relog was really just not an option. This rib cage could be cool. Following the spine of the rib cage, I came up to a very much oversized Rex skull wedged into the side of the mountain. It also looked like there was a cave inside, so I swam over to investigate. Oh, jellyfish. Okay, I do not mess around with jellyfish. Swimming back to the bubble to catch my breath, I decided that since I couldn't build inside the bubble, I would just build near it. Okay, dude, honestly, I think I'm just gonna build in this tunnel, the hydrosphere. Now, you might just be like, why not build in the giant air bubble right there? It's because when I log in and log out, my tames are just gone, dude. They despawn. And here, let's test it real quick. Pepperoni, chill.
Bye,
Where are you going? I relogged to make sure that they were, and when I loaded back in, Pepperoni was still around, so I could probably build here without having to worry that the back rooms would suck in my tames again. I'm gonna place the hydrosphere in here. This area is safe, feel comfortable leaving my tames out. See, I think this is good. So I put some aqualirium into the hydrosphere and then powered it, instantly creating a pocket of air all around me. Just like that, air. This is so cool. Now I just had to make sure basic home appliances worked in the bubble, such as a campfire. So I ran back to my seaweed shack and grabbed some resources and then crafted even more aqualirium. Following that, I crafted a new campfire and returned back to test it out in the bubble. Fair enough. Okay, I can use it. Sweet, dude. I can use all this normally. It was surprising to see something actually worked as intended here on Aquatica. Anywho, I actually got an idea for better farming of resources underwater, and that would be to tame a dunkleo, those big stone-eating fish. I could also use something with way more weight to carry stuff as well, even though he looked a bit chunky, couldn't actually carry all that much at once. Anyways, running back to my shack, I started gathering a few of the basic resources around to make stone foundations so I could build my new home. And now I need to get some hide for some new forges. To get a slight head start into making forges, I demolished the two that I had in the shack and recycled the materials for a new one. To get more hide, I would need to go and consult the locals of the bubble, which also included the raptors. No, free hide. Oh! Is it stuck on the harvesting glitch? Yeah, if you didn't know, the alpha raptors here on ASE tend to kill something and then try harvesting its corpse, but for some reason they just can't hit it. So they end up in a perpetual loop of mauling at the corpse and achieving literally nothing. And that seemed to be the case with this raptor, up until a couple of trikes wandered into it and started beef. So back to looking for easy prey, which I soon spotted in the form of a parasaur. Oh! Be quick. Now, while I was piecing up the parasaur, I watched as the trikes fought the Rex. The Rex is alpha boosted, y'all are cooked, goodbye. After running back up the hill, I smacked up a rock and made the second forge. Got foundations, 2 forges, need to make a smithy now. I whacked up a bit of stone, then ran back inside to craft another smithy. And I also demolished my bed and made a new one before going out to the bubble to start constructing my new crib. How are you swimming? This is air. The relog, you're gonna be there, right? Yeah, okay. Turns out Pepperoni was just built different and he could swim in the air. I then threw all my stuff into the smithy and went back out to get the rest of my things when I noticed another victim of the back rooms got abducted. Where is my narwhal? No! My tames are just disappearing. Yeah, it turns out the big bubble wasn't the only glitch where my tames could fall through the ground and get consumed by the endless void. I channeled my greater powers once again to go under the mesh and see if any of my tames were chilling down there, but there was not a sign of them anywhere. He's just gone. Like that. What? Also, the wild creature spawns were like really messed up on this map, as random little fish could spawn deep down under the map. Now, I tried to relog to see if I could bring him back from the Shadow Realm, but of course that didn't work. He was just gone. Forever. Never to be seen again. Oh, dude, this is the Aquatica experience. This is the Aquatica experience. I'm wondering if he just got too close to the air bubble, so when I relogged, it like killed him. That was pretty unlikely though, because then I could probably see his corpse at least, but he was gone completely without a trace in the tribe logs. So a bigger problem now was getting around. I had Pepperoni to hold my breath underwater for longer, but now I lacked movement speed. Where's Nugget? I left Nugget on one of the beaches, so I basically had to unalive myself and then go get him. So I threw Pepperoni off my shoulder, which of course launched him like a missile. You know, I'll see what these things do. They can't be friendly. As I got close to them, they rushed me, but neither of them could actually attack me. Bite me. Oh, can they not attack because they're juveniles? Nice game design. So my best bet was just to sit around and wait until I drowned. Gotta accept defeat here. I respawned on the North Island and started running down the shore in hopes of finding Nugget, but I ran straight into a hungry seashell and got my toes licked once again. Oh, what is happening? I actually ended up knocking the shell out. Yeah, don't ask how that works. Approximately 30 seconds later, I got myself into another pickle though. This one a bit more dangerous than the last. Oh my god, no way. I jumped into the water and discovered that swimming is actually faster than running, so I continued the search for Nugget underwater. Oh, Nugget, you are a good sight to sore eyes, dude. Oh, bro, this is rough. Morale is at an all-time low right now. I guess what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back down the base, get the mud puppy, get my loot. I'm mass taming monodons. You can't stop me. If my stuff's gonna disappear, I'm gonna make sure I've got more. One way to surely stop my tames from getting sucked into the back rooms was getting cryopods, since I could store them all in a storage box or something. Anyway, I swam out to the middle of the ocean, and when I was above the bubble, I dove straight down into the depths, making it back home as I started suffocating. I grabbed all the metal ingots from Nugget and threw them into the smithy, regeared myself, and grabbed Pepperoni, of course. Okay, time to go mass tame monodons. That's what's happening here. I then swam back up to lower pressure waters where monodons spawned, and I started scouting for good levels. 3 works for me. At the very least, monodons were really simple tames and didn't require any sort of preparation. I just hop on its back, impale a bunch of random fish, and boom, another narwhal tame. I named this one Tank, and I started heading back home with Nugget just before the end of the day. I want to get my hands on cryopods, dude. I think that's really the only way to keep my tames safe. I parked both of my monodons at the bubble, and I ran in to get some wood and other basic resources. I can get my hands on cryopods and go up to the surface and get Perry. Bring him down here. With both of my narwhals almost encumbered with stuff, I whistled them to follow me back into base. However, Tank needed a bit of help since he was stuck on nothing, but we got there in the end. On a side note, dropping items inside the hydrosphere was super cursed. Instead of flying in the direction of dropping it, it kind of just stayed in one place. Okay, still works like it's in water here. With my forges lit and cooking, I hopped on Tank to go back for round 2. Okay, so I've been doing some research, and there's a thing called a water wyvern. Apparently it can glide and swim underwater, and I'm assuming it's super strong. But of course, you've got to go into like a water wyvern den, steal an egg. It's basically just a reskinned wyvern is what it is, but it can swim underwater. For now, the plan was to tame a bunch of monodons though, and maybe later I could go out and scout the water trench to see if I could actually grab any sort of egg to start off with. You know what? I could live in here if I just cryoed all my dinos before I got off. Now, what are the odds I actually remembered to do that? That would make things so much easier. For the time being, I brought metal to my forges and parked Nugget away from the hydrosphere. And I then swam out to the big bubble to start grinding out a few cooking pots again, as I needed just a couple levels to unlock cryopods. There we go, 51. I returned to my crib to drop off the items that I got and headed out on Nugget to spear down a couple of fish for hide. I ran back to the big bubble to grab some fiber for another monodon saddle on day 14. Like the textureless bushes. Back at the crib, I made a new mortar and pestle and queued up a few narcotics, grabbed some oil, and then repaired my tools. Let's make cryopods first, then I'd like to get back to taming monodons. That is, up until I spotted a level 130 monodon just straight chilling near my base. So of course, I hopped on its back and got to consuming fish. Boom. Oh, so many monodons. Yeah, another high level this close to base. It's like my luck is starting to turn for the good. So I tamed the second narwhal and then brought them all back home. Back to the cryopod grind. I just needed some crystal and polymer, which I didn't know how to get just yet. Anywho, swimming around, I spotted a really high-level Dacosaurus, which looked to be the apex predator of this map. See, I'm assuming you just tame those like a mosasaur. A few seconds later into my expedition, I came across this big drop-down that led into the abyssal zone. No idea how this works. Definitely should stay away from it for now. I might just have to farm up for a fabricator at this point. I think that might be the move. For that, I needed crystal as well, which I actually spotted just ahead of me. Oh, perfect. Some right here. There were also a few juvenile reaper things, but they weren't much of a threat as they kind of just swam up the tank and started sniffing it. After leaving, I came across a big pile of floating rocks as well as metal haven apparently. So much metal out here, I need a donkey. Gotta get cryopods and then whole new door opens for progress. Now back at my bubble, I unlocked the fabricator and spark powder engram, and then made a bunch of spark powder, and now I just need paste. Don't think I'll be able to find any taxpayers on this map. I did have some chitin though, so I just needed to farm stone to craft the paste. When I got back, I made all the cementing paste that I could before I actually ran out of chitin. So my best bet was to find some unsuspecting trilobites. Polymer per cryopod. Man, that's expensive. Paste is definitely going to be a problem. There's definitely no beavers on this map. There's just no way. Even the Dunkleo saddle required a ton of paste, so I'm going to have to do some research here. Apparently, there's some spot on the map where I can actually get a bunch of paste, so I started heading over there. Anyways, I also grabbed the attention of an abyssal reaper worm thing, and this one could actually keep up with my monodon somehow. So I started spearing it to see if it gave me a ton of XP. Oh, a ton of hide. Not really crazy XP though, I won't lie. I then swam back up to the surface to catch my breath, and soon after that, I arrived at my spot. Oh, there's oil rocks. Oh, wait, oh yeah. And then all my trilobites. So many. Oh, voice crack. So many trilobites. There was even a plant species W, so I could refill my stamina and oxygen. I first started by breaking all the oil nodes, and then the trilobite massacre could begin. I don't one-tap them, so they're all just gonna scatter. After killing the first one, I got grabbed by another seashell, but killing that actually gave me Aquatica paste. Let me kill these clams. These just give straight paste. Also, harvesting with the monodon seemed to be pretty effective, so I continued using that to bully the locals. These clams are just OP. Oh, yeah, somehow they can suck you off your mount as well. Pause. Anyhow, I actually pulled out my map and I set a marker for the spot, as I surely would be visiting it more often. So now, with a little under 400 pace farmed, I headed back home. When I arrived on day 15, I looked into the hydrosphere to see how quickly it was consuming fuel. Yeah, dude, this thing shreds through the aquarium. Besides that, I crafted the fabricator and placed it off to the side. I then unlocked the hard polymer engram and loaded up the fabricator with fuel and paste. I then headed out to farm the obsidian, which was the other thing that I needed, and that could be found in abundance just outside my base. There's no good, easy way to get organic polymer, I believe, so far. That being said, crafting hard polymer had to be the move. I got a decent amount of obsidian and then returned back to the fabricator and fired it up to craft the polymer. So with that being produced, I returned back out to get more obsidian, and I aggroed a couple of Reaper offspring again, so I just killed them for the hide. Now when I got back, I grabbed all the necessary resources to make cryopods. I also made some space in Tank's inventory, and I headed out to find an obelisk to go craft the cryos at. See, there's a sunken obelisk right there. There was also a crashed obelisk at the volcano, and I'm yet to explore up there, so I swam up to the surface where I then spotted the last obelisk. There's an obelisk way over there. So I swam over to the shore where Perry was still patiently waiting for me. I then hopped on his back and we started marching up the volcano. Oh yeah, this island's hot, very hot. So I actually made a new set of cloth strip to try and dissipate the heat a little bit, but it was still too hot to handle. Trying to use cloth to cool me down, it's just not gonna work. It's too hot here. I think I'm gonna have to swim out to that obelisk that's in the water standing up. That being said, I brought Perry back to the beach and hopped back on Tank. Oh, good thing I was not at the volcano. That thing is exploding. Anyways, I swam around the island to the backside, where I immediately saw a bunch of poisonous clouds and new abominations. What is that? Oh my god, this place looks like hell. Hell was an understatement. The waters were filled with megalodons, and there were even more depths to explore later on. What are those rings going down there? Okay, this looks cool. None of you can argue this looks really cool. More importantly, I got closer to the obelisk and I saw an actual terminal that I could craft at. But first, I had to get my oxygen at this plant W. Unfortunately, I can only make 3 cryopods right now, as I didn't bring enough fiber for more. So I had to swim all the way back to shore to find a few textureless bushes. Ooh, baryonyxes. Those could end my day. Going back over to the plant W, I noticed a dead shark sitting next to it, and harvesting its corpse gave me a bunch of keratin, spoiled meat, and an infected liver, whatever that does. Now, after parking Tank at the beach, I got to picking fiber by hand, and when I got a decent amount, I headed back to the terminal. Not worried about the sharks, worried about the baryonyx. If I get stunned off, I am done for. I will be putting a hole in my monitor if I get hit off by a baryonyx. Besides threatening my hardware, I made the rest of the cryopods, grabbed all my stuff, and started heading back home. Okay, dude, let's make the long trek back to base now. Are these OSD drops or supply drops? I didn't even think about that before. Maybe it's just a supply drop. And indeed it was. Opening it proved to be really worthwhile, as I got an absolutely goated Dunkleo saddle. Oh my god, crazy donkey saddle. Okay, these are just supply drops. That's a good thing to know. Oh, that is awesome. That is so good. I am so taming the donkey as soon as I can. On the way back, I of course had to stop by to pick up Perry, but while swimming over to him, I had a closer look at these hammerhead sharks, which first seemed to be passive. How do these guys not? You're telling me these guys are chill? They are vicious looking. Are they passive tames? No. What is going on here? They are in fact not passive, but only when I hop off the monodon for some reason. Interesting creatures to say the least. Anywho, I crowded up Perry and started swimming back to base. When I returned, I grabbed the spoiled meat and threw it into the mortar and pestle. And since I had Perry with me now, I could throw him out in the big bubble and farm up a bunch of narco berries. Alright, I need to make narcotics. I think donkeys take a lot to go out. Alright, I am actually about to head off for this recording session at least. So I'm putting everything in a cryo. I'm not risking it. Finally, I stuffed Pepperoni and Tank into one as well and got off for the day. Logging back in on day 17, I got visited by a pretty brave trilobite. Why are you in my base? I decided to spare its life for now though and continued progressing. So I threw out Tank to go and get more crystal as I still wanted to make those Monodon saddles. I found a decent cluster of crystals not too far from home, so I got back to farming. Alright, I'm gonna kill these Reapers things, because they give a bunch of hide. I was dealing less damage due to decompression sickness, but I do actually still want to get a stronger tame soon. Man, these things have a lot of health. I need to find something that does more damage, dude. This is rough. Oh, you know what I need to make, dude? I need to unlock and make a scuba tank, so I can just throw that on, get my oxygen back, and then take it off. For now, though, I had to catch air in the big bubble, and while doing so, I spotted a level 162 Tech Rex. 162? Good lord. Anywho, I returned back to the crib and looked into the Engram page to see that scuba can be unlocked at level 81. 81, never mind. Keep in mind, I'm level 63. Anyways, I made the Monodon saddle for Tank, and I devised a short plan of action for getting the water wyvern eggs. Okay, I want to keep taming Monodons because I want to try and get a water wyvern. If I have infinite Monodons, I can kind of die with them over and over and not care. So I grabbed a couple of extra cryopods and headed out on Tank to find more narwhals. Now, the pressure sickness debuff was also not helping me as it was slowing me down in an already infinite expanse of water that I find myself in. Soon though, I did find a level 140 Monodon, so I hopped on its back to start the taming process. I then shoved it into a cryopod and mounted on Tank and continued looking for more. They're just too easy to get, dude. A level 130 was also soon spotted, and this one had a pretty cool purple belly. Dude, so easy to find Monodons. And as a cherry on top, I found a level 150. What more can you ask for, folks? I have so many Monodons. I had one more empty cryopod and I spotted a level 135, so I hopped on it to start taming, but then this happened. Oh, whoa, for some reason, Ark Survival Ascended got launched. What? Anyways, when I stopped it and loaded back into Ark Survival Evolved, I was set back by about 2 Monodons. Are you serious? So back to taming them once again. Alright, that's enough Monodons for right now, dude. I can't be bothered to tame anymore. On that note, I swam back to base and grabbed my other Monodons that have just been sitting in cryopods, and I started leveling them up. Now, the Wyvern Trench was actually pretty close to my base, but there was still one thing I was missing before I could go and try and raid it. Know what else I'm gonna need? I'm gonna need a lot of mud puppies. Going out to get said mud puppies, I discovered a new ability that the Monodons had once you saddle them. Oh, why do I have a light? What? What was that? That's crazy. Oh my god, this does so much damage. Yeah, so it turns out these narwhals aren't as weak as I thought. I mean, once they're saddled, they can literally shoot a laser beam similar to the effect of a lightning wyvern and absolutely destroy things. Good lord, this is so cool. Anywho, I made it up to the island just as the day came to an end. And on day 18, I started taming any mud puppies that I could find, even the low levels. Alright dude, I got an extra 3 mud puppies. Surely I can yoink a water wyvern egg, right? How hard can it be? Going back to my Monodon, I came across a tech parry, so of course I packed it up for the free electronics and oil. Once back on Tank, I swam down to base to prepare for the great heist. What's up, gang? I'm gonna throw Pepperoni off, just because I don't want him to die. I also put him in a cryopod to keep him safe from the backroom demons. I then stored all my stuff away except the spyglass, because that might come in handy. I threw some raw meat onto the campfire to cook and ventured into the Engram page. What? Is flak not a thing? What's it? Is it? Oh, and it's the same. Okay, let's go and try and check out this water wyvern den. I'm fully expecting to die. I jumped on one of the narwhals and we headed out on the first scouting mission. Just need one to get more, but I have no idea what I'm getting myself into, dude. I just don't know how creatures or anything work on this map, dude. There's virtually no guides, nobody's playing this, for obvious reasons. The den was somewhere in this red lava-ish area, and I soon found the entrance, which was poking out like a sore thumb with these 3 giant crystals. Tiny entrance. That probably means they can't escape, though. Hello? Now, I could already see a bunch of water wyverns down below waiting for me, but first things first, I actually got spotted by an alpha megalodon. Oh, there's an egg. There's an egg right over there. So I swam back up around to the other side to hopefully lose the big shark, and I had a clear visual of the egg. I think I can get that, dude. I can get it, but I don't know. I definitely won't be able to escape. So I snatched the egg, and it was only a level 55, but that's a good starting point for now. And of course, all the water wyverns started beelining straight for me, so I had to dip quite quickly. Here's the end of me. I have no idea how these things work. Oh my god, that's terrifying. Can I slip out? Can they get out? Can they get out? Yeah, okay, they can get out. They can get out. I only got chased by one wyvern, and it was just slightly faster than me, so I turned around and checked on its level. I might be able to kill this dude. Wait, what am I gonna use this? Oh, I don't have the saddle. I can't use the horn beam. Why is there music playing? I continued smacking up the level 55 wyvern, and when I put up on another, it was far too late for the first one though, as it was super bloody, so I packed it up and got a ton of levels to put in the melee. But then I started drowning, so I had to go back into the bubble and watch the Monodon fight not one, but two water wyverns. Oh my god, they can come in here. That's a 175. And now it had its sights set on me, so I was pretty much just cooked, dude. I tried to hunker down on the side of this pillar, but yeah, you already know how this ends. Oh, okay. The good news was that I had the egg out of the den, and I could probably take on the wyverns. So I grabbed my kit and another mud puppy and hopped on tank to go out and deal with those wyverns. Should definitely be able to kill it with tank. So it's currently just camping my body.
I'm
Oh,
falling.
it fell. There were still two of them outside of the bubble though, and they would probably aggro on me once again when I grab the egg from my dead body, so I'm gonna have to be strategic about this. So I got to the section with my corpse undetected and ran up to grab it. Now, as expected, the level 175 wyvern down below noticed me along with the other two. Luckily though, I got to tank before they could kill me. Okay, it's just one. I can take it. Let me just keep getting far away. It was a level 180, but tank was a menace, and we absolutely blasted its face off with the beam. Oh no, it doesn't give you the XP if you kill it like that? That's an... Oh, hello? Now killing this one gave me a water talon, likely a required boss tribute. Holy easy way to level up. I returned back to the crib on day 19 and I noticed that my hydrosphere was getting close to needing a refill. So I had the extra crystal to make the aqualirium but no crystallized wood, so I headed out to get some of that. Now when I got back, I queued up 15 crafts so I could start looking into more advanced technology. Okay, now obviously generator and air conditioners. Man, I forgot how expensive these things are. And I had plenty of electronics from harassing tech parasaurs, so I made the generator, but I actually ran out of polymer for the air conditioners, so I've got to craft more of that. I bet you this is gonna take a ton of ACs. I also unlocked the cable and outlet engrams before going into the smithy to make that Timu flak armor. I want to make myself some of this really flak, but what's it called? The Lassian armor? It looks sick. Finally upgrading, dude. I feel like I'm finally catching my stride on Aquatica. I'm enjoying it, I won't lie to you guys. It is a cool map, minus all the weird glitches and things, such as swimming mud puppies and air pockets. Anyways, I threw Pupperoni back out to accompany me, and I checked out the new flag set. Oh my, this does look really cool. Why are the air conditioners golden? So I made the first few air conditioners, a cable, and an outlet, and I placed everything down next to the smithy. Okay, there's no way this incubates the egg. Yeah, too cold. I'm just gonna have to farm 1,000,000 ACs, I already know. So I decided that the plan would be to farm up a few extra forges so I could get a ton of metal smelting at once. So of course, I swam over to the big bubble and got the farming. I then returned back to place the new forges and throw some wood onto them. Let's get the farming. So to satisfy my metal addiction, I had to fill all the forges, and without an Enki, that's not going to be easy. Nevertheless though, I whistled all my Monodons over and got to work. Well, after I get this water wyvern, I'll probably try and go and grab another, get a better one, and then I'm definitely taming a donkey. Also, getting the metal to my forges from the Monodons was rather cursed since I couldn't throw the bags anywhere. I just had to keep jumping and picking them up. Yeah, farming metal like this sucks. I need a donkey. Anyways, I chopped down a few trees for wood before returning back to split that into forges. And speaking of refueling, I also grabbed the aqualirium that I made and put that into the hydrosphere. I then started the production of Intel GPUs, and pretty quickly I realized that I would need more metal. Oh, I'm gonna run out of metal so quickly. But it had to be done in the name of progress, so I made another couple of air conditioners and placed them down, and then threw out the egg, which of course was still too cold. So on day 20, I shifted my focus from hand gathering metal to get enough narcotics to knock out a Dunkleo, which of course starts with a Perry lawn mowing montage. Now, with a decent amount of berries farmed, I returned back to the narcotics cooking. I then swam back into the big dome to pick some fiber and make arrows, which I could later convert to tranks. Now, while those were crafting, I opened up Dota decks to see how many arrows I would actually need to knock out a Dunkaleo, and it's not a pretty sight. Holy, these things take so many tranks. Because I definitely want to tame a high level. So I made a bunch more arrows and threw out parry for season 2 of the lawn mowing competition. When I returned, I threw everything into the mortar and pestle and queued up the rest of the narcotics. And I also started turning the new arrows into tranks, and I crafted a second crossbow, which I would likely need. Now I need to farm up a trap. I don't think they can fit through dino gates, which makes things very difficult. Really, there's no way I'm making myself farm behemoth gates. Unfortunately, you cannot use weapons off the back of monodons, so a trap is gonna be necessary. I don't know, dude, I might have to make gates. Man, that would suck to farm by hand, though. I might have to, though. It's gonna be the craziest quick cut montage of all time. Now, to prepare for a farming session of such magnitude, I of course had to patch up my tools and cook more food. But before doing all that, though, I made enough electronics for 3 more air conditioners, but I ended up running out of crystal. That being said, I headed out to get some on day 21. Now, back at base, I made the 2 extra air conditioners and I placed all 3 down to see if it was enough to hatch that water wyvern. Apparently, it was still too cold though, so I made another 45 electronics for 3 more ACs. And while that was crafting, I returned back to the big bubble to get obsidian for polymer. Please be enough. Please be enough. What? Oh, yes, yes. Finally, the egg started incubating, so I grabbed some raw meat and waited for it to hatch. Now, when the baby popped out, I had a quick peek at its stats and I named it Agua. Now, trying to whistle it out of the hatchery was also weird since the wyvern was swimming in here. Is it like in the ground? I cryoed it, then threw it back out to get a closer look at this new type of wyvern. And this does look cool. Definitely just a reskin of the wyvern, but it looks pretty cool, I won't lie. I slowly watched it sink into the floor while waiting for the imprint, and at first I thought I was about to bear witness to the backrooms taking yet another victim, but then it stopped. Are you going into the ground? Okay, I think it stopped. Now, once the timer finally reached 0, I whistled it out to go on a walk, or swim, I should say. Stats still suck, obviously, but yeah, these don't have oxygen, so. Alright, I will be logging off for the night. It is 2:12 a.m. at the time of this recording, so I'm putting everything in a cryopod. Not taking the risk. Waking back up on day 22, I chucked out Agua, Tank, and Pupperoni V3 back out. Just waiting for this dude to mature here. When I looked in the tank's inventory, I noticed he was losing food at an insane rate.
I'm hungry!
In a minute!
So I had to hop on and go hunt a few fish with him. Even with the fish meat in his inventory, the food drain kept up and he barely got any food back, probably due to the pressure debuff that he had. Going back to my bubble, I just had to wait for the water wyvern to grow up since I really wanted to go out and use it. I'm just gonna level straight stamina and health into this thing, I think. Boom. Taking it out for a test drive, it seemed to be quicker than the monodons, but I soon discovered a major flaw. They don't swim up fast? So they swim horizontally pretty quickly, but as soon as you angle up, you can't sprint. What's up with that? Anyhow, I had to level Agua up and also get some food in the process. Looking into the engram page, I was also high enough level now to now unlock scuba, so I did that and swam back down the base. Yeah, you gotta find like the perfect angle, and then you can swim down while sprinting. But if you go any lower, you stop. That's so weird. But these things could also go on land, so I tried that by swimming into the big bubble. Wait, what? Oh, you just glide. You glide in the jankiest way possible. Yeah, you can't even turn side to side, so you're kind of just forced to glide or fall in one direction. And once you land, it literally has the default wyvern landing animation. Also, did I mention it's pathetically slow on land? This thing is so slow. It can't sprint while walking. This thing is so janky. It was also losing food at a rapid rate, so I honestly decided just to give up and stuffed it back into my pocket. What the heck? I was really banking on this thing being good. After grabbing a bunch of fish meat off Tank, I threw Agua back out to stop her from starving. There's just no way these things are working like they should be. I think this is just snail games being bad. Even the animation just felt so unrefined. Overall, a terrible creature, I must say.
My disappointment is immeasurable.
Sure, the melee and breath attacks dish out a decent amount of damage, but that couldn't substitute the janky movement. Anyways, back at base, I kept force feeding her fish for a little bit to try and stop the fast food drain, but then I got a different idea. Hold up, if I leave render, will this dude's food like stop bugging? The answer was no. Nope. So I tried going even farther the second time. Looking back into the big bubble, I spotted a drop just begging to be taken, so I swam over to the back and cryoed up Tank and then ran in on foot to go retrieve it. Okay, since I have 510 health, I can survive any drop because Any drop from any distance will only ever do 500 damage to you. So I'm not worried about this. Oh, not if I'm overheating, that's a problem. I had to munch down on a few cooked steaks to replenish some HP, but then I sent it towards the drop. Oh my god, that was not worth it. What? Why is there a stego in the air? Yeah, that drop basically summarized the entire Aquatica experience thus far. I need canteens too, dude. Running out of water in an underwater map. Only I could ever do that. While jogging back towards base, I spotted a dead Rex body near a herd of stegos. There's a raptor over there, of course there is. To get over to the bridge, I needed to pass this area regardless, so I quickly farmed up a couple of parachutes and slowly descended down to the Rex to harvest it. Now the hard part, actually getting past the Alpha Raptor and a whole other Rex. However, it was busy fighting a couple of Brontos, so I sent it right past them while getting caught in the crossfire. Ow. 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 Anyhow, I made it out of the bubble and got back home to see that Agua was no longer starving at the speed of light. So I then threw Tank back out and unlocked the canteen engram, and I made polymer for a scuba tank. Am I out of paste? Am I? How am I out of paste already? I then quickly made some from chitin, and I crafted 3 canteens to keep myself hydrated in this severely water scarce environment. Since the water wyvern was a major disappointment, it was time to move along and tame an actually useful creature on day 23. Alright, I need to tame a donkey now. Tank was once again shredding through his hunger bars, so I had to cryo him. Even after throwing him back out, he was still starving. So I tried going up higher in the ocean to see if I could lower the pressure, but that just didn't work, so I was forced to stuff Tank back into a cryopod. Anyways, to tame the Dunkleo, I probably had to make a behemoth K trap, so I first grabbed some metal and then hide, and I quickly farmed the rest of the resources for a second smithy, which I could also use to craft the gates. I then also made a single thatch foundation to place that smithy on and headed out. Alright, let's go farm. I threw Tank back out and started swimming up towards the surface, and that's where I actually spotted a few donkeys up near the surface, very far from land, I must say. So that means the behemoth K trap would most likely be useless, so I had to rethink my strategy a bit. Maybe I can tame something I can shoot off the back of? I forget, these guys' aggros are weird. If you hit them, sometimes they just run away. I got the attention of this low-level donkey, and as long as I let it bite away at Tank's fins, it kept on chasing me. No, maybe this is possible. So I swam all the way up to the island where I found a pufferfish that I proceeded to annihilate with Tank's beam. Okay, that guy doesn't even give fish meat. So I massacred a bunch of smaller fish instead to feed Tank's hunger. Now going up on land to start the farming session, I came across a good friend of mine I had to tame immediately. Man, there are a kipper. Okay, hold up. This is the first otter I've seen. I didn't even know that they were on this map. So I ran back into the ocean to dome a random fish and drag its corpse over to Kipper. You see, I can't really use the Kipper because I need the mud puppy on my shoulders, but I can still build a throne for him back at base. And having Kipper accompany me on this journey would also help ease the pain that I have to endure playing the Snail Games DLC. Boom. Let me get another fish. Boom! Kipper. I cryoed up Kipper so I could bring him down to my water abode later. Now I could actually get to farming the behemoth gates. I just had to find a spot for my smithy since... Oh my... No way. No, okay. And so the great hand gathering montage could commence. First gate out of 3. One more gate frame and then 2 actual gates. Got the final gate, now or gate frame, now I just need the gates. Alright, finally, dude. I've got the trap. I returned to Hank and dove underwater to find myself a high-level donkey. Holy amount of donkeys. I mean, I could actually swim around the edge here. They seem to be spawning quite a lot. While swimming around, I witnessed an OSD soar down from the sky right in front of me. Whoa! Drop right in front of me. It don't... Oh, it's falling really far. I can't resist, though. But then the Ark God said double it and give it to the next person. Well, there's 2. Sweet. And by giving it to the next person, they meant literally have the drops go through the map instead of landing, so I couldn't even see either of them. Where's the drop? Okay, I guess that drop is just gone. So back to looking for tames. I swam back to the shallow water on day 25 and continued scouting out all the donkeys and potential free loot. Drop way over there. I want it. Red drop. It's almost dead. Go, go, go. The loot was rather disappointing though. I get an Ascendant Thalassian Rifle blueprint, an auto turret blueprint, and a single C4. It's terrible. Like, this blueprint, who would ever craft that? However, my luck shifted 180 degrees as I found a level 145 donkey close to land. Perfect. This is the best spot to build the trap. These megalodons are annoying. After getting rid of those, I started constructing the trap while making sure the gap between gate frames was big enough for me to swim through but also keep the donkey in. You think I can fit through that? Yeah. Yeah, surely it can't get out of that, right? With all 3 frames now placed down, I placed one gate at the back and kept the other one on me. Now it's time to introduce myself to the donkey. Hello. I did attract the attention of its friend and a random megalodon, but Tank was, as his name suggests, pretty tanky. So I just let them bite me to their heart's content. Eventually though, the 145 got split off, so I had some time to deal with the megalodons that grouped up. Alright dude, where do these donkeys go? They're just dipping. They are just dipping. This is what I was afraid of. I got the 145 on me again and slowly escorted it closer and closer to the trap. Now, with a lot of encouragement and several aggro resets, I got the donkey close to the trap, but then it just decided to swim away again. And in the process of following it, I got the attention of a max level. There's a 150 on me now. Come on, Tank. You're living up to your name right now. We are so close. No, see, they all just lose interest immediately. And to make matters worse, I hit it as well. Trying to get it to follow me again, I got closer to the trap just to have it swim away yet again. At this point, I was convinced that these things had to be the dumbest Ark creatures. I mean, just look at their face. They even look unbothered by what's going on around them. Please. Please, just get... This is so annoying. Yeah, even after all that, the 145 donkey ended up farther away from the trap. So I swam back to where I saw the 150 and got its attention, but as you could expect, I didn't get it any closer to the trap. I can't just swim around and shoot this with tranks. Maybe I can. Maybe that's the move. The problem was that to knock out a level 50 Dunkleo, I would need almost 200 trank arrows. I can gain stamina back in water, right? Yeah, okay. Maybe this won't be as bad as I thought. Can't believe I just spent all that time farming for a behemoth gate and I just couldn't get it in the trap. Oh! Hello. Turns out this other donkey was also a level 150, and for some reason, this one did not want to lose aggro. Dude, you gotta chill out. You're not the main character, bro. Oh my god. Why are they so fast now? The better question is, why are they so persistent on aggroing me all of a sudden? These guys won't run away. Soon enough, I had a whole gang of angry donkeys following me, and I was basically all out of stamina too, so I had to pop out Tank. Where'd my 150 go? No! I started frantically spyglassing every donkey in the area, but none of them were the level 150 that I was tranking out. Where did he go? There's no way I just lost him. I refuse to believe I just lost it like that. I invested so many tranks into that thing, but no matter how many donkeys I checked, none of them were the 150. It's straight up just gone. Like, it escaped me. That's absurd. And to rub some salt in the wound, I also had no idea where I was. Everything looked the same over here. You guys do not understand the pain I am in right now. I did manage to find my trap again, and I tried once more to lead a level 145 in. And this time I actually managed to get it locked down. Right, now that that's finally in the trap, gotta go back to base and make more tranks. I marked my location down on the map and swam back home to prepare my stuff and spoil a ton of meat. Need to do some lawn mowing here. Throw Kipper out to watch over the base.
See you later, stinky.
Oh, yeah, maybe not. The last thing I needed right now was for Kipper to drown. I put him back in the smithy and made my way over to the big bubble to resupply my mortar and pestle with narco berries. When I returned back, I crafted a second mortar and pestle to double my narcotic production, and I got to cooking. I then also crafted stone arrows to turn into tranks. And by day 27, I was once again ready to go and tame that Dunkleo. So I hopped on the back of Tank and made the long journey back to the trap. Get the trankin'. What? Yeah, these things take an unreal amount of tranks to knock out, and it actually took me the entirety of the day shooting tranks, and I broke both of my crossbows tranking it. But by some absolute miracle, it actually went to sleep on day 28. I don't even know how. I've got one trank arrow and I went to sleep when I wasn't looking. I paused the recording to start. I started day 28 recording earlier because I thought I was screwed. No way, it just went to sleep while I wasn't looking. Oh my god. Okay. That's crazy. To tame this emotional roller coaster of a creature, I had to get raw prime fish meat. Is there an alpha megalodon anywhere perchance? Yes. Level 20, perfect. There was a bit of a war going on between the megalodons and the hammerhead sharks, but I had to intervene to get my prime meat, so I started blasting the alpha. No! Oh my god, it harvested the prime. I hate you. I did see a Bassy get messed up by a couple of sharks, so I swam up to bite his corpse, and that actually gave me some regular prime meat, so I could actually use that to tame the donkey. And oil, holy oil. Hold up. Since it gave so much oil, of course, I had to go in and take another bite. Anyways, I returned back and fed the donkey, taming it instantly. That's nice. That's nice. I needed this, dude. Let's go get this crazy saddle on and start farming metal. I then returned back to the crib to store all the oil that I got, and I grabbed the goated saddle and threw it on the donkey. Oh, I've got bad pressure acclimation. Okay. And that also meant that it was losing hunger insanely quick. So I stuffed him back into a cryopod and swam up to lower pressure waters to throw him out again. And while waiting for the pressure acclimation, I named him Carl. Carl. Yeah. And Carl took his sweet time getting used to the higher pressure waters. So I slowly descended back down even though his food was draining rapidly. Alright, let's see how much this farms. A single bite yielded over 700 raw metal as well as a bunch of stone, but that's not what I was here for. Since I could get so much metal so quickly, the only thing I needed to upgrade was Carl's weight, so that maybe one day he could match the weight of his mom. Anyways, I quickly got him encumbered with just above 4k raw metal, and I actually had to drop some so he would be able to move to get back to base. Now to get this metal into my forges. It was a little tedious, but I got all the metal sorted, so I relit the forges, but I also had to get more fuel for them. This guy farmed wood? How does that work? Since these giant seaweeds were made of wood, somehow I could actually get wood from them with Carl. Oh yeah, he can't farm wood. This thing is crazy good. So I refueled all the forges and went out to get even more metal. After sorting all that into the forges, I crafted a sickle and went out to wax some seagrass for fiber to repair my crossbows with. Alright, I know I just spent a lot of time taming, but I'm in the mood to tame Agua. Why are you over there? Saying that I want to tame more. I kind of forgot I had this guy, I'm not gonna lie. I clapped a random Reaper offspring that was a bit too close to my base, and I actually decided that I would go back down to the watered wyvern trench to try and get a high level egg this time. Dude, this would be fine, good, it swims fast, just like this, but as soon as you look up, you just go slow. This is the fastest I can go. Kinda ridiculous. There were a couple of wyverns right at the entrance, so I got their attention, briefly at least. I don't understand what's going on here. They aggro, but they don't chase? I killed a megalodon, but then an alpha pulled up, and now even the water wyverns noticed, so I retreated back to the big bubble. Going back to the entrance, there were still 2 wyverns camping it, so I got their attention and tried to lead everything away. See, these things are really fast. And it's horizontal, that is. Once they lost sight of me, I swam back down to the trench. There's an alpha? Are you serious? You know what? I should bring Tank in here. I can probably slowly kill everything, work my way through. Alright, I think that's the move. But I also had to be careful not to get cooked alive as the heat inside the trench constantly drained my HP. Now, while traveling back to base, I ultimately decided going out and taming something else. Now, those hammerhead sharks have really sparked my interest before, so when I returned back home, I got to farming trank arrows again. And I also did a little bit of lawn mowing with Perry, but as I was heading out on the ramp leading to the ocean, it was obstructed by raptors once again, so I had to cryo up Perry and sprint by them. Hello. Say hello to my little friend. After dealing with that, I returned back to base and queued up a bunch of narcotics. Dude, I'm watching this video and apparently there's shadow mains on the map. If so, I gotta figure out how to get those. So I want to try and tame the hammerhead shark that I've seen and the swordfish. I'm assuming I should just make like a stone gate trap, which should be pretty simple farming up with Carl. But before committing to anything, I wanted to test something. I don't know, let's see how fast I make flippers. I made a pair and dove in to see if there are any significant increases to swim speed since you already swim pretty quickly on this map. Oh, it's mega fast with flippers. Dude, let me just make a bunch of flippers because they could get bitten off pretty easily. I was, however, all out of pace, so it was time to visit our seashell and trilobite friends over at their capital. So I hopped on the back of Agua since he was pretty good at dishing out some damage. Guess who's back? With a little bit of cementing paste farmed up, I returned back home to make a new pair of flippers. You know what I want to do real quick though before I go check that stuff out? I'm going to put everything I have in here and I'm going to take a random monodon. I want to go look at the abyssal zone. I'm fully expecting to die, but I just want to see what's going on over there. I threw one of my many monodons out and leveled HP into him, and I got some food quickly by poking a few of the local fish. Losing food this fast is devious. They did not need to put this feature in. I disapprove of this feature. Anyways, I headed towards the abyssal zone that was actually not too far away from the big bubble, but going deeper into the ocean was also causing the pressure to rise very quickly, and soon enough my monodon actually started to feel it. Oh, I'm losing. Yeah, because it's... Wait, why is it dying? Pressure sickness 3? It just straight up kills you? I also forgot that I had Pepperoni V3 with me, so I turned back around and beelined it home. I really don't want to lose Pepperoni V3. If you didn't know, I lost the other two, okay? But here, what I did instead is leave everything at base and take some flippers and the low-level mud puppy, then return back to the abyssal zone. Okay, so how does this work? I know it's air in here, but like, is there a ramp down? That looks like a ramp down. Now, one thing I definitely could have brought with me was a spyglass to see the horrors that waited for me below. Don't tell me it's like radiation either. Now, as I got close to the edge, it started freezing and I could actually look down into the abyss without falling. Okay, I'm somehow swimming, but like, what am I looking at? Oh, there's a ramp over there. Okay. But I might have slightly misjudged the water's hitbox, and I started plummeting down into the abyss. Thankfully though, I did bring parachutes with me, so I descended gracefully into the unknown. Okay, I'm gonna die, but I'm checking out what's down here at least. So far, I'm just seeing normal creatures. This place does look pretty cool, I won't lie. Reminds me a lot of Aberration. What is that? A Thyla? Oh, I see shadow mains, okay. I landed by the massive skeleton, and I headed towards where I saw shadow mains. Oh, Procoptodons. Oh, abyssal Procoptodons. Oh my god. I hear a Reaper. I just aggroed a Baryonyx. Oh no! I was running blindly. I jumped down some sort of crevice, but the berry followed me everywhere, even knocking me off this giant mushroom. Oh, I'm dead. I'm dead. My armor kept me alive for about a minute, but there was no hope of me living anymore. And soon enough, I got sent back to the lobby along with my mud puppy. That was kinda good though. I know what's down there. And I know that I need, like, a land team of some sorts. I definitely want to get shadow mains. Those are just super strong. Respawning on day 31, I grabbed my kit and made a new set of Thalassian armor. Man, where's Agua? Why are you over there? And I actually headed back to the abyssal zone with Agua, as it really got me intrigued. This time I swam down to the actual ramp that you're supposed to go down, and I slowly started making my way into the depths again. So this is the fastest I can move. I couldn't stay down here for too long though, as I was actively freezing to death. Yeah, okay, so there's shadow mains down here. I forget how to team shadow mains though, but I know they're not fun. Anywho, that's all I needed to know for now, so I started heading back out. Also, these water wyverns could actually jump and glide, which was slightly faster than just walking up the ramp. Anyways, after parking Agua back at base, I loaded on my crossbow, as it's time to go out and tame one of those hammerhead sharks that I've been wanting to for a while now. So I hopped on tank and started swimming up close to the surface where the hammerhead sharks like to hang out. And soon enough, I actually found the perfect culprit. Right, red. So that will be the one I am taming. I got up and close to them, and as long as I stayed on my monodon, they wouldn't aggro to me. That is until I tried to blast one of them with Tank's beam. What is that effect around it? I had to carefully try and take out all of his buddies before I could knock out the level 145. Okay, maybe... Dude, these just look like reskinned megalodons. That's what they probably are, to be honest with you. But I still wanted to tame one to see if they were any better than a megalodon. So slowly but surely, I beamed all the low-level betas, and now it was just the level 145 left. So I cryoed up tank, put my flippers on, but I had to chop up this angry chihuahua before I could actually start tranking out the hammerhead. This is so easy with flippers. I swear this is just a reskinned megalodon though. With a fraction of its health left, it went to sleep, so now I had to look into what they actually prefer to eat. Before doing that though, I had to go take a leak or something. Anyways, I shut down my game. I honestly don't remember what the point of that logout was, but when I logged back in, I got to experience a PowerPoint slideshow. I mean, my game literally froze and stuttered every half a second. Okay, so Aquatica is being Aquatica. Basically, I just ran into an issue where my stuff was lagging, obviously, as you guys saw. I was able to get some help, and destroying wild dinos actually fixed the issue for now. But I'm wondering if it is going to come back as more wild dinos start to spawn in, which could definitely be an issue. We'll see. I also messed around with my settings, so I've now got to reset those. Luckily, the wild dino wipe didn't annihilate my hammerhead shark, as it was already knocked out. So I'm assuming it's just gonna eat fish meat. Let's try and get some raw fish meat for it. Honestly though, this thing is not to be strong at all. Anyways, I started looking around for anything that could hook me up with prime fish meat, but seeing as I did just do a dino wipe, it's pretty unlikely that I'm actually gonna find anything right now. On day 32, I decided to harass a local junkie to see if those dropped any prime fish meat. No? Really? A little bit of swimming around later, I spotted a bassie, and those for sure give prime meat. Now, attacking the mantis started a whole gang war, but they were no match for Tank's horn. And the bassie got similar treatment too, but then I committed a crime against my nature out of nowhere. I actually just don't need this oil. So, I still don't even know the bosses yet. I think there's multiple. I haven't seen... Oh, I should have looked in that terminal at the obelisk. What am I doing? Oh, I might have to swim back out there to check it out. It was kind of far away, but that would give me an excuse to try out the hammerhead shark. Although looking into the engram page, its saddle can be unlocked at level 15, meaning it's probably an early game tame. It probably sucks. Anyways, for the boss, I'm thinking either megalodons or shadow mains, and I'm kind of leaning towards shadow mains even though they'd be harder. I don't think they have oxygen, but the thing about shadow mains is that they have natural armor and damage reduction, so I don't need to worry about finding a saddle blueprint and farming endless amounts of resources to craft them. Anywho, I fed the hammerhead shark. It tamed almost instantly and I named it Sharky. I then shoved it into my pocket and swam back down to the crib. Now to make the saddle I needed fish scales specifically, some raw metal, silica pearls, fiber, and cementing paste. Hopping back on Tank, I blasted a few of these chunkier fish that gave me a mid amount of fish scales. Boom, made the saddle. We'll see if this thing... Honestly, I'll be happy if it's fast. It can be pretty weak as long as it's fast. I threw Sharky back out, saddled him up, and I hopped on just to get disappointed immediately. Oh my god, it's slow. The last redeeming factor could be its high melee damage. I'm swearing this thing is just a reskinned Megalodon, and it's so weak. It's so weak. This thing is terrible. Tank is so much better. What a waste of time you were, Sharky. Yeah, I'm not sure why anyone would bother taming these things when Monodons are not only much simpler to tame, but also have like 8 to 10 times more health and probably more damage as well. And that's not even mentioning that they don't require a saddle to ride, which if you do unlock the laser beam attack, it's pretty overpowered considering how easy it is to get a Monodon. So where'd my donkey go? Carl, what are you doing? Since that was such a massive waste of time, I decided that I would take Agua out to the obelisk. Let's go. Long journey. I couldn't say no to a free supply drop though, and this one was full of new resources. I didn't really need them at the moment, so I dropped them and then continued my journey.
2 hours later.
Now, arriving at the terminal, I had a peek inside to see the new boss called Simathoa, however you pronounce that. Interestingly enough though, this boss only requires one artifact and a handful of tributes, and the most difficult to get would probably be the Alpha Mosasaur tooth. I have not seen any Spinos. There's Sarcos over here. I can see those swordfish. Okay, let's keep exploring the map with this thing while I'm out here. I was curious about these giant circles that seem to lead deeper into the ocean, but as I started swimming towards them, I realized they weren't even a part of the map. Oh, that's the border. Anyways, I'm yet to explore the entire bottom right side of the map, so I started heading towards that. Oh, wasn't looking. I tried to cryo Agua, but the Plessy kept hitting it and canceling me out of it. And by the time I could mount him again, it was too late, and for some reason, Agua just refused to swim fast. Whoa, swim! Dude, are you serious? Well, that sucks. At the very least, I could swim super fast with my flippers to get back up to land, so that's not an issue. Hello, Kipper. I already have one of you. Oh. Some free cementing paste is always appreciated. Anyways, I swam back down towards my base and I placed a large storage box down that I got from that drop. But first, I had to soothe my itch for metal, so I resupplied my forges with wood and then went out to get some. Man, I love Carl. Why my mud puppy just outside? I whistled him back and transferred all the metal into my forges before consulting my friend, the search engine, to remind myself on how to tame shadow mains. Okay, so I did some research, and to tame shadow mains, you need fish baskets, but it's easier to trap them first, which is difficult. I don't have a tame or like a land tame that can traverse that easily, especially since I lost my water wyvern. It makes things difficult. I've got Perry. I could tame a shadow man on Perry. That would end so badly. If I remember correctly, I can do like a 2x2 trap, completely seal them in. It's gonna be hard to trap them without a flyer. So at the moment, trying to trap it on foot was likely my only option. Anyhow, I first unlocked the fish basket, which actually requires fungal wood to craft, so I couldn't make any right now. I don't even know where to get fungal wood, so this is a future problem for future me. Anyways, what I could make right now were grappling hooks, and those would for sure come in handy. I need fiber. So I repaired my crossbow and made 20 grapples for now. And I also remember that I can make a boomstick to protect myself since I was going to infiltrate the abyss on foot. I low-key might take Perry down there, dude. That's so cursed. I made a bunch of sleeping bags as those would surely come in handy. And lastly, I farmed up 4 campfires to keep me warm as it's freezing down there, and finally made a few bolas. For my armor, dude, I know I'm gonna get cold down there, that's the thing. But I can't make fur. No, what drops pelt on this map? Nothing. But at last, it was time to head out and see just what would happen. So I hopped on tank and swam down towards the abyss. That's when a massive red underwater sausage popped up on my screen. Oh, hold up. I need to kill this. That was the ultimate test of strength for Hank, taking down a whole alpha mosasaur. Oh, it was a Tuso, what? Thankfully, it was too busy harassing a donkey to notice me, so I got out of there scot-free. Well, almost, since the alpha mozo actually followed me all the way back up to my bubble. Oh, dude, leave me alone. I don't want to lead this guy back to my base. Going into the bubble, I somehow managed to get this chubby piece of meat stuck where it couldn't hit me, but I could still blast it in the face. I got some decent damage on it, but it freed itself eventually and started harassing the wild local monodons around my base. Yeah, come back. And I tried getting it stuck in the bubble again, but when it killed the wild monodon, it suddenly decided to not want the smoke anymore. Where are you going? I don't know, I need to kill this though. It seemed to just have a personal vendetta against wild narwhals and sudden changes of mind. Come back. Why are you running? You are an alpha.
I am now the alpha.
While I had its attention, I swam back down towards the bubble to try and get it stuck again, but it seemed to have learned from its past mistake and would just swim away instead. Oh, come back. But then I made a great discovery when the alpha mosasaur attacked those swordfish. Whoa! Oh, it's bleeding it. It's gashing it. Dude, they're helping me. Quit running. Also, the wild dino wipes seem to have finally fixed something, as I was now seeing Tusos where I wasn't before. I have not seen Tusos this whole, it's a 135. I have not seen Tusos this whole video. The Moza persisted on dipping, then returning to the fight, but me and the swordfish were putting in work, and I could soon start to see it getting bloody. I need the swordfish to gash it again. Yep, boom. We are a team. We are an elite task force. But my speech didn't seem to convince the local swordfish of my political views. Oh, whoa, whoa, we're on the same team. No, gang. What are those? A seahorse? What? And yet another Tuso above us. Anyhow, the Moza started beef with a seahorse, and it started spitting some bars in its direction. Ooh, what is that seahorse spitting? Oh, you attacked a donkey, big mistake. Oh, no, it's shredding it, never mind. This Tuso would also definitely get in the way, so I decided to blast its noggin, and I yoinked its black pearls as well as a ton of keratin that I got off its corpse. Oh, and just as things were starting to get chaotic, a whole second alpha mosasaur appeared out of nowhere, this one being a high level 2. At level 130, oh my god. Why are you such a wuss? I followed it into the scorching hot waters where I got a bunch of good hits on it before I dipped again. Be bloody. The swordfish pulled up again to assist me, which cued the alpha mosasaur to just run away, of course. It was getting seriously bloody though, so I had no plan of giving up now. I was gonna chase it down until the end of the world if it came to it. Got it. Okay, I snagged its inventory including the alpha tooth, but now I was pretty heavy myself and I couldn't swim, so I had to drop a bunch of stuff just to be able to get back on tank. Swimming back down towards my base, I set my sights on the level 135 Tuso. I did have a bunch of black pearls on me, so I could definitely try and tame it. Let's see if I can't get it to grab me. I helped clean the hammerhead sharks out, but there was an issue. Yo, oh, it doesn't aggro on me. I jumped off tank for just a second to get its aggro, but the only thing that did was make it start attacking frantically. Oh, I don't think it can grab me on this. That sucks. I was not ready to give up though. I could get it to grab onto a wild creature instead. So I led it over to another pack of sharks, and as soon as it picked up one of them, I swam into it and fed it. Got it! Oh, my voice crack. Oh my god. So it turns out there was a use for these hammerhead sharks at the end of the day. That was rough. That was a rough voice crack. Once the Tuso calmed down, I cryoed it, and that's when it hit me. Surely I can take squids into the boss fight, right? I could use squids. They're strong. That was a superb day. I got an alpha mosasaur tooth, what I needed for a tribute, and I got a Tuso. I'm not that mad about losing my water wyvern now. I slowly but surely made my way back home and sorted out my inventory before looking at the Tuso saddle engram. Oh, I can't even unlock the saddle yet. 5 levels. So for now, I just threw out the Tuso to note down its stats. However, I did have to cryo it right back up though, as the pressure sickness was quickly starving it. So I swam up higher in the ocean and then threw it out again and renamed it according to its stats. I don't know, dude. Tusos might be the move. Like 50k health and then melee. The stats on these things were looking more than good enough to beat a boss, and that's even without imprint. Surely I can do the boss with Tusos, right? It's an underwater map. Anyways, I had to level up quickly so I could get a saddle for it. I did a little bit of head scratching at base before settling with crafting a bunch of narcotics for XP. So I grabbed Perry and swam over to the big dome, but then a better opportunity presented itself. Oh, if I can lead, I think I can lead that Alpha Raptor into water? I brought Tank over to the edge of the bubble and I ran in to get the Alpha Raptor's attention. Instead though, I attracted the Rex, so now I have to deal with that. You want it? You want it? You really want it? The second time around though, I actually hit the raptor on the first try, so I bolted it back to tank. However, I didn't really account for one thing, and that's the insane running speed of alpha raptors. Oh, I'm so cooked. Oh my god. Are you kidding? This is not fair. And just like that, I was met with a respawn screen. Unfortunately, the same could not be said about Pepperoni V3. He was gone for good. That's not fair. I quickly swam back and grabbed all my stuff. Why are you over there? I shot it again, but its pathfinding AI wasn't the brightest, so it couldn't really get to me. So I returned back home for now and looked into my smithy, and I had no more mud puppies cryoed. Alright, you, my friend, Pepperoni V4. I repaired my armor and grabbed a new pair of flippers and then made more stone arrows. Let's try this again. Now, with the raptor on the ramp again, I could get its intention and run back to tank. However, by the time I hopped on it, it seemed to have forgot that I assaulted it in the first place. Is it stupid? I shot it from the water, which made it budge, but it didn't actually aggro to me, so it seemed to just completely ignore anything that's in the water. That could be exploited though, so I got inside the bubble and shot it again, and made it run all the way to the edge before hopping on tank. There we go. I think it's stuck. No. And if he tried getting away, I would just go in and shoot it again. Oh, it's trying to attack my body. Since its AI got glitched out on my corpse as they do though, I could sit back and launch arrows at its forehead until it died. I did, however, run out of arrows though, so I had to farm up a few more, and when I returned back to shooting it, it got free of the glitch. I poked it a few more times with tank before it re-aggroed to my body so I could get back to shooting it. Got it. Yes, 7 levels. That's more than I need. And I got a decent pair of tools as well as a trident. Anyways, I unlocked the Tuso saddle engram and returned back home to craft one up. Piper can easily do that. Boom. Tuso saddle. That's too easy. On day 36, I threw out the Tuso and saddled it up to get ready for a test drive. It still had severe pressure sickness though, so I had to swim up to get it acclimated. Like, what type of damage numbers am I doing? Oh, dude. There's just no way I have to do squids. They're just so strong. I don't know if they can come into the boss fight or not yet. That being said, I wanted to tame another high level and get an imprinted offspring to go around on. So I started looking for a high level male Tuso. I'm not even interested in shadow mains now. I just want these squids. While swimming around, I wanted to pick up a few things to heal off of, but I was having a hard time actually doing so. I can't pick up sharks? That's crazy. I tried again on the hammerhead sharks, which I knew for a fact could be picked up by Tusos, but even those ignored my Tuso's grasp. Oh wait, you know, I bet I can't pick stuff up because I've got PvE mode on. Anywho, I headed back down towards the abyss where I had seen the first Tuso. Just want to kill it so a new one can spawn. And I got level 2 sickness. Okay, maybe not. This pressure mechanic was more of a nuisance than anything else. So for the time being, I decided to head back home and leave the Tuso out to get acclimated. Surely I'm able to fight this Dacosaurus now. Oh yeah. The poor thing got dropped in seconds, but it did hook me up with a ton of hide. Back at base, I had to expand upon my storage system a little bit, so I went out to farm a few large extra storage boxes. I then lined those up with the one that I already had and sorted out my inventory. Let me make a fridge. This base is definitely, it's so basic and so bare bones. Definitely not my proudest piece of real estate, but it was functional and that's what really mattered. Anywho, I was running low on a couple of resources such as silica pearls and crystal. At first, I wanted to try and take my Tuso out to farm those since it has over 1,000 weight, but then I remembered I had Carl, so I just headed out on that. Looks like they fixed the Reaper spawns. It's interesting. Stunky is mighty slow. I didn't really know where I could farm a bunch of pearls, but they were necessary in crafting Tuso saddles, so I did a little bit of research. As an eye, I looked at one of the 2 existing guys on Aquatica. Now, since I was already near the giant crystal area first, though, I farmed up those. Easy crystal farm, dude. There's so much crystal. That's more than enough I need. I then had to carry all that back to base on a ridiculously slow Carl. I made it back somewhere into day 37, and I brought all the crystal over to a storage box. This dude just doesn't know how to shows every resource except silica pearls. Bruh. Anyways, I hopped on Tuso again, and I tried going down towards the abyss. I spotted the level 50 male Tuso, so I pulled up on it to get rid of it, and surprisingly enough, it didn't even try to fight back. Kind of just took the beating as granted and died. Make sure there's not any other Tusos down here. I did find another Tuso shortly after that, and this one was an alpha level 95. Okay, currently I can't kill that. I didn't want to risk losing my only Tuso though, so I decided to not fight it for now, but I would keep it in mind. What I came across next though, I couldn't really put into words. Oh my god, what is... What is happening in there? Oh, it's a male Tuso 135. Why are there water wife? Why is there a Yudi? What is happening? Just the average Aquatica spawns, I guess. Why is that like a gate to hell though right there? That's crazy. I needed that level 135 male though, so I had to go get more black pearls. So I returned back to base to sort out my stuff, and I had plenty of pearls just lying around. So I grabbed 2 stacks of 50 and an empty cryopod and then headed back. I'm gonna have to lead that Tuso to something, let it latch onto it, and then go down and tame it. But what is it? What are these? Just like rings of fire? I got closer to investigate, and while doing so, I spotted an entrance to what looked like a cave. What is this? Hold up. What is this place? This place seems pretty chill, I'm not gonna lie. I wanted to see more of that cave, but for now, I had to go back and try and get that male Tuso. I returned back to where the gateway to hell was, but now there were no water wyverns, Tusos, or beauties to be seen. I'm swimming down here, dude. I'm finding me a Tuso to tame. I'm gonna hit the world border, I think. Oh. What is this? What looked to be some sort of sunken submarine soon turned into a lag machine. The closer I got, the worse my FPS tanked. Oh my FPS. This looks like something that has an artifact in it though. Oh, why is it so bad? No artifacts, just pure lag. So I hopped on the back of the Tuso and dipped. On my way out, I spotted a level 85 Tuso, so I clapped that and continued looking for a high level. I headed back to that interesting looking structure that led to a cave through another entrance. See, this area is cool. I like this. Like the map looks very good. I won't lie, but definitely run into a lot of issues. Swimming through this really cool looking cave, I soon arrived at the first entrance, so I headed out and that's where I finally spotted the perfect tame. Oh my god, I told you guys, I told you. And as almost on cue, the Tuso latched onto a wild creature of some sort, so I swam up to feed it. Got it. Now my Tuso was dishing out over 1k damage with mate boost. I renamed the male according to its stats and then cryoed him up. If I don't wipe the floor with any boss, I'm gonna be astonished. Back at the crib on day 38, I threw out the male Tuso and saddled him up to swim up since he wasn't acclimated to the pressure somehow, even though I literally brought him out of the depths where the pressure is higher. I'm about to just leave him here to acclimate on his own. I did bring the female up to him as well so that they could start mating in the meantime. Now, once I got the egg, I swam back down to incubate it near my base. The baby got the good health from the male, but unfortunately the same could not be said about the melee. Going for that perfect female. I did have to turn off PvE mode to help the child onto the next world though. Anyway, I brought both of the Tusos down to my base, and now I let them mate while I did some chores around the base, like making gasoline so I could actually power my fabricator. The next baby Tuso that hatched had both of the good stats, but it was a male, so I just named it Boss M. I'll raise this guy and I can use him. This is my imprinted one. I gotta wait for the imprint on this dude. You might need 2 to be honest. Not to mention how long this thing is gonna take to heal, because it's gonna get up to like 60k health. That would have to remain a future problem for future me though. One thing I could do right now though was get a plant species W here at my base. I want one of these so I could swim around with infinite oxygen and stamina. Do I even have the seeds though? It might have expired. Anywho, the third egg produced twins, and they both had the good melee and health. So I paused my Tusos from breeding, and I renamed both the babies to Boss F. I now had a perfect breeding pair of Tusos. On day 39, the first juvenile's Tuso imprint timer hit 0, and he requested an azul berry. I picked one of the seagrasses to get him a piece, and then fed the Tuso. 33%? Oh, I gotta imprint them 3 times? That sucks. It's whatever, they'll be super strong. So basically, I just had to babysit these things if I wanted full imprint on them. But back to the plant species W though. Looking at the Ingram page, there were these underwater crop plots that I would need to make, but those require silica pearls as well. I'm also gonna need a toilet fertilizer. So I hopped on Carl to munch down a rock for some stone. I then made the water intake, irrigation pipes, and a water tap. Now for the toilet, I needed a bunch of raw metal, paste, and crystal. So the only thing I was missing was silica pearls. Let's get these things fully imprinted, then I'll go out and get pearls. That being said, I waited around for their imprint timers, and both of them wanted to go on a walk, so I whistled them to follow me. Technically could get 100% imprint if I keep being quick with them. Boom. Yeah, dude, these stats are just gonna be insane. And if they threw me an airball, such as requesting any sort of kibble, I just simply stuffed them into a cryopod to reset their imprint craving. That's annoying. At least my cat Maximus kept me company while I sat around waiting for imprint timers. Oh, kitty, off my desk. Anywho, I soon threw the male Boss Tuso out and cuddled it for full imprint. The stats were looking pretty good to say the least. Holy stats. Oh, this thing's gonna be so strong. Oh, cat, get off my desk, dude. Not that on the desk. You know that, but you don't know that. Finally, by the end of the day, I got all 3 Tusos imprinted so they can slowly start healing. On day 40, my boss male grew up to adulthood, so I saddled him up and went out to collect silica pearls by massacring trilobites. This is after taking care of a few intruders that pulled up on me. Dude, this thing is so strong. This Tuso could easily have 100,000 health, but I want to upgrade melee in it as well. You don't need 100,000 health. Once this thing gets healed up, I'm going in the water wyvern trench and just obliterating everything. For now, I swam over to the land of hungry seashells and trilobites, and I started swinging. The amount of pearls that I got was pretty underwhelming though, so I had to rethink my strategy a bit. However, there was also a plant W here, so I hopped off to get the seed. On a side note though, I got this Tuso's health up over to 70k, so the rest of the levels I would pump straight in the melee damage. Anyways, I wanted to get more plant species W seeds, so I started swimming around while also picking up any weakling to quickly heal off of. These plant Ws were scattered around everywhere in the shallow waters, so I was able to get a decent amount of seeds pretty quickly. Can I pick up a donkey? The answer was yes, and donkeys were actually really good for health regen as they took a lot less damage. I'm gonna get so much health from this dude. Oh yeah, I've gained like 3,000 health from this guy already. I'll probably go kill that alpha Tuso if I get this full health. This donkey was only a level 45 and it healed me a considerable amount, so I headed out to find a higher level. The next donkey that I snagged was a level 135, and that meant it healed me up a ton. Farming donkeys are just the meta. I've already got half of my health back. The other donkeys were also kind enough to follow me all the way here, so I repaid the favor by helping them onto the next world as well. Screw it, 75k HP. Day 41 began with me pulling a good old Granty and forgetting to hit resume on my recording. My recording has been paused. Oh, it's been paused for like the whole day. I'm such an idiot. Oh, I hate when I do that, dude. I mean, I didn't do anything crazy, but it's still just annoying. To quickly summarize what I did, I got the Tuso healed up and returned back to base to make an underwater crop plot and plant one of those plant species Ws. I then made a toilet as well, and I executed the grand fertilizer ritual to fill up the crop plot, and now I was just waiting for it to grow up into a plant W. And then I also bred the Tusos and got 2 more eggs, which I am yet to hatch, and they are right here. Anywho, the plant W soon grew up now, so I could breathe underwater around my base. How big's the radius? The range was decent on it, but I wanted to get a couple more going later on. Okay, now, do I go try and kill that alpha Tuso? I think so. First, I grabbed all the chitin I got from killing donkeys, and then threw it in a storage box, and also found a water wyvern egg. Oh, I also went into the water wyvern den and got this egg. I missed so much. My recording was paused for like 15 minutes. That's so annoying. These are my stats, by the way, dude. This thing is absurd. It is so strong. I spotted a regular Tuso, which I absolutely deleted. Problem was, I can no longer find the alpha. Okay, what I want to do right now, since I can't find that alpha Tuso, which kind of sucks. Do you guys remember that like poisonous spot that I was at that killed me, like, or nearly killed me? Like, oh yeah, it's right over here. Like 20 days ago. I remember there being an alpha Carcinos, or just a normal Carcinos. I want to see if that's still over. I needed to kill a Carci for organic polymers so I can make a ghillie suit to counter the heat of the wyvern. I got closer down to the floor and having a scuba take on seemed to help with the poison. Okay, what do those lobsters give? I'm killing them. Whoa. What is on? Oh my god, corpse spores? What? Yeah, not sure why I started tripping, but I got all the polymer that I would need and a ton of fish scales and other junk. That was from the corpses though. I still wanted to see what the lobsters actually dropped, so I first set my Tuso to neutral, then swam back down to kill one. Oh, it just went into the ground. Okay. I clapped one more Carcinos before heading out of there and unlocking the ghillie set. When I returned back to base, I made a full set and cleared out my inventory. Okay, now let's go back to the water wyvern. Let's just wreak havoc on it. I mean, I honestly cleared out a lot of it when I was paused on day 41, so you guys didn't see it, but, you know, I'm going back. With the ghillie on, I was still hot, but not getting cooked alive anymore, so I could stick around for a bit longer. Going into the trench, there weren't many wyverns to kill, but there was a nest just chilling out in the open, so of course, I snatched the egg. Level 25? Screw it, I'll pick it up, and you know what? I'm eating it. That worked perfectly for getting the wyverns aggroed over to me so I could farm them. How's that feel? How's that feel? Y'all want it? I'm just mopping them, dude. Anywho, I descended deeper into the den where I found another couple of low-level eggs that I consumed. And for some reason, the bottom of this trench wasn't hot at all. I think that's it, dude. Tiny den. Yeah, that was pretty anticlimactic. As I exited the den, I spotted a whole 150 Tuso just minding its business outside. I did already have my boss breeders though, so I just turned it into resources and XP. It's just too easy on these Tusos, dude. Now that I wasn't scorching here in the hotter side of the map, I could actually explore a bit without having to worry about dying. It's a big chunk of the map. It looks cool. I won't lie about that. Oh, what's blue back there? Oh, that like fire thing that I don't know what that is. Somebody will have to let me know in the comments what those do. Oh yeah, and there was also a giant pool of lava underwater. That totally makes sense. Anyways, I then spotted another Tuso, so I swam up to introduce myself. After killing that, I hopped off my Tuso to try and farm the resources in this area, as I had a feeling they would give me different stuff than normal. Oh, these give fungal wood for fish baskets. To make said baskets, I needed thatch and fiber as well, but my sickle wasn't on me for some reason. So I had to pick the bushes by hand, but I was able to get a bunch of baskets crafted regardless. Okay, that's nice I have fish baskets. Let's keep exploring. So far, lava biome, not too bad. The Tusos were starting to appear more frequently, and I wanted to keep killing them so I can maybe just get an alpha Tuso to spawn. Alpha Megalodon, I'll kill that. 145, yeah. 145 or not, it stood no chance against my boss Tuso, as it's just built different. And once again, everything is dead. Moving along the exploration, I arrived at a so-called corrupted zone. At first, it didn't seem to look any different to the whole lava biome, but then I came across an interesting looking cave. Okay, what's going on down here? This is different. It's like underwater aberration. Oh, whoa. Let's chill out. There was this pretty obvious ramp type of path that was clearly leading to somewhere important, so of course I had to follow it to the bottom. Whoa, what's that? This is weird. Honestly, it looked like something straight from Rockwell's innards, but oddly aquatic. Is this something living? It looks like a giant shell. Oh my god, it is. What is this? What is this? I'm killing it. Turns out it's an alpha clam, one of those toe-sucking seashells, and killing it actually gave me a few pieces of element. So, oh, what's this? After seeing that giant seashell, I wasn't taking any chances down here. I started swinging at the smaller clam, but upon seeing that it wasn't a living creature, I hopped off to investigate. I don't trust this at all. You found the red abyssal pearl, increased insulation against extreme temperatures. Whoa, that's cool. So how long does that stay on me? Huh, I'm not sure. Anyways, I continued through the cave until I came across the Holy Cavern of Crystal. Holy crystal. I was really close to the green obelisk, so of course I headed towards it, until I spotted a dropout in the distance. So I quickly changed my course to go check that out. That's terrible. Now, seeing that there were more lobsters, I tried killing another to make sure that they didn't drop any good resources. But that ended terribly as I started tripping again. I did, however, get these infected things that looked interesting. Infected fin. The dominant trait for increasing swimming speed. I force-fed the Tuso one of them, and sure enough, it got a boost for swim speed and melee damage for 30 seconds. However, it drains food, water, and health when consumed. There was also an infected blubber, which gives stun resistance, and infected liver for poison blood, whatever that means. I'm definitely keeping these. There's a bunch of them. These are some cool features, I won't lie. Back to the green obelisk though, I checked the terminal to see the boss requirements again. The only things that I need to figure out is where those Spinos spawn and where to find the one artifact that's hidden somewhere on this map. And I wanted to keep exploring, but I was starting to get a bit heavy, so I made my way back home to store some stuff away. My base needs such a big upgrade, dude. Yeah, maybe living on 9 stone foundations was getting a bit old. However, I didn't want to get into any renovations just yet. Instead, I wanted to start breeding my boss Tusos so that they could passively heal up. Now, to make my life easier, I wanted to get another Tuso saddle, so I cut up a bunch of seagrass for fiber and headed out to get silica pearls. And the only place that I remembered finding any was the starting island rivers. So I swam up to the surface and threw out parry and got to work on collecting them. Dude, why are there so many pearls in the rivers like this, but no idea where to find them in the whole ocean? I managed to get a decent amount, so I returned back down to the ocean and cryoed up parry and then threw out the Tuso to go back home. Oh, I got sickness too, bro. Anywho, I left the Tuso to decompress, and I finally crafted the long-awaited fridge. Finally got a fridge made. This base is so cursed. To be fair, it was supposed to be a temporary solution to my tames constantly being sentenced to an eternity in the backrooms. I need to expand this place, dude. That being said, I hopped on Carl and I munched down on a few pieces of oversized seaweed. On day 45, I crafted 3 more underwater crop plots and a few foundations to expand my little platform with so I could actually place down the fridge. I then sat down on the toilet and began practicing the fertilizer ritual. With the plant species W set up, I could bring back down the male boss Tuso and start breeding it with all the other ones to get my army going. I also crafted the couple of Tuso saddles to move the squids around every time that they're done mating. Alright, move these guys since they're bad, I don't need them anymore. I'm just gonna deposit them right here. I stored the eggs away into my fridge for now, as there was one more thing that I needed to do before I could start hatching all the babies. Need to farm some fish meat to feed these babies, and I still got pressure sickness. I killed a trio of Dacosaurus, but the only thing that they dropped were prime meat and hide. I need to kill these, I need their blades. While killing innocent fish, I spotted a green drop not too far away, so I pulled up to check it out. Inside, I found a couple of weighted boot skins and an insanely expensive honorable, yeah, I don't know how to say it. Basically, the swordfish saddle blueprint. Holy, that is just impossible to get. On a side note, killing a small group of hammerhead sharks with Tusos yields over a metric ton of fish meat, so filling up the troughs is gonna be a breeze. Yeah, this should be enough fish meat for now, I think. On that note, I swam back home to sort out my stuff by even making more storage boxes. Should just be making balls, dude. I don't know why I'm so wasting my time with storage boxes. It's really annoying that you have to move the squids to get access to the eggs. The eggs just spawn inside them. Anyhow, it was time to start the hatching process. I grabbed all the eggs, a bunch of fish meat, and I threw out a couple to incubate. So throughout days 46, 47, 48, and 49, I would just sit at base, hatching new eggs and taking care of the baby squids. I'm only raising like 4 at a time just to keep imprints manageable. It's kind of slow, but I do want to make sure that I do get imprints on everything, because it just makes them so much stronger. On day 49, I was down to imprint the last couple of Tusos, so I started organizing them around so my whole base just wouldn't be a massive tentacle mess. Nothing's gonna attack these, so I'm good to literally just leave them out. Alright, dude, they're all imprinted and raised. I do have to go farm a lot more meat for them though, because they're all just gonna be gaining health at all times. So they're just gonna be destroying their food supply. That being said, I hopped on one of them and went out to kill a few hammerhead sharks while also leveling it up in the process. That's too much health. Instead of making a feeding trough, I split a bunch of meat into the squids so they would all have their own supply to munch on. Okay, now that I got all my Tusos raised up, I wanna go and try and find an Oviraptor so I can use them to farm up a bunch of Tuso eggs so I can just power level my guys so I don't have to take everyone out and level them. With that in mind, I grabbed Perry and hopped on Tank, who was dangerously low on food, so I impaled a few fish for meat. Now to get said Oviraptor, first I brought up a few of my Tusos to get their eggs. I then headed out on one of them to see if these little rascals even spawn on the map. Alright, let's do this. I don't know if they spawn on this map. I'm assuming they do, just up on a beach, but we'll see. Or maybe we won't see, I don't know. I swam up to the main island and deployed Perry to get around on. Almost immediately, I stepped on one of the seashells, which was unfortunate, but at least I got to test out my trident. It was pretty good at getting the clam's mouth open once again. This looks like prime Oviraptor spawning territory. And I was right, I actually spotted a level 60 egg goblin hiding out in the bushes. So I pulled out my bolas and nonchalantly introduced myself. Hello. I hope you're hungry for sushi, or caviar, I should say. However, the only thing that seemed to be truly hungry was Ark. Turns out it needed more RAM. Oh, no. No. How far back am I gonna be? Everything was going too good, dude. When I loaded back in, I found myself exactly where I knocked out the Oviraptors, so I prepared my bolas and started looking around. There was a regular raptor causing problems in the area, so I had to deal with that first by lodging an arrow straight into its cranium. Now, with a small Oviraptor on the run, I charged up my bolas and chased it down like a maniac. Once he was asleep again, I fed him the squid eggs and waited till he ate one. What? Tuso eggs? Hold up, these are Tuso eggs, my dude. Yeah, for some reason, one whole Tuso egg only gave 12% taming progress, so I need a bunch more to tame this guy. So anyways, I cryoed up Perry's and got my toes suckled on by a clam, and then swam back to my Tuso. Gotta go get a bunch more Tuso eggs, because apparently Oviraptors don't like them that much. They eat them, they just need a lot of them. At the very least, I had a pretty big army of squids that could produce a lot of eggs quickly. So when I returned back to base, I enabled mating on the male and waited around for the eggs. Now, while waiting for the second batch, I wanted to make a few more Tuso saddles, so I grabbed my sickle and I whacked up the seagrass around my base for fiber. I then collected the last few eggs, bringing the total up to 11, and I started heading back to the island. Let's find another Oviraptor. I've got a lot more eggs. I threw Perry out and we jogged around the island looking for another egg thief. The search continued into day 52, but so far the only thing that I found was a seashell interested in Perry's toes. Now I'm struggling to find an Oviraptor. Bruh. Shortly after saying that, I spotted one roaming around the beach. Perfect. And it was only a level 15, so it would tame up really quickly. I bullied it and knocked it out. I then fed it a bunch of fresh squid descendants and waited until he tamed. Once he woke up, I named him Egg and forced him into my right pocket. On my way back to the Tuso, I had to force open a few more clams since they really like Perry's toes apparently. Bro, getting hit by all of them. Bro. And just when you think that's all of them, another one pops up right below my feet. Oh my god! There's so many of them. Anyways, I did make it back to my Tuso, cryoed up Perry, then immediately threw him back out by accident. Finally, going back down towards the base, I spotted a fresh drop waiting for me, so I stopped by to grab the absolute trash that was chilling inside. I then threw out the Oviraptor, but just like every other team, he started floating in the hydrosphere. But that wasn't the only issue. I threw an egg out to see if he would pick it up, but he kind of just stared at it instead. So this guy's not picking it up. This is weird. After some thorough research and head scratching, I came to the conclusion that Oviraptors were just broken underwater, and that's why he wouldn't pick up the eggs. Okay, this kind of foils my plans now that Oviraptor's not working. Yeah, having to pick up all the Tuso eggs manually by moving them every single time they finished mating was just not optimal for mass egg production. So I had to devise a different strategy for leveling all my Tusos up. And the only solution that came to mind was to obviously take each and every Tuso out on a killing spree individually. It would take more time, of course, but I didn't really see an alternative at this point. So I wanted to get started on that as soon as possible. I need to just start making Tuso saddles, I guess. Tuso saddles are quite pricey. I did have a decent amount of hide in my storage boxes, but just making a few saddles quickly shredded through those supplies, and I had to go out for more. I'm at the farm hide. One more saddle? Is that it? To make the last saddle, I just needed paste, but looking through my storage boxes and the fabricator, it was clear I'm gonna have to go and pay a visit to the Seashell Club. I need more paste, okay. So I hopped on one of the boss Tusos and made my way over to their spawning ground where I committed mass genocide. With a little bit of XP, bunch of paste, silica, and black pearls acquired, I headed back home to make the final Tuso saddle. Alright, all my Tusos got saddles. They're just gonna need leveling and healing, but they've got a good 46 days to do that. I'm gonna try and make some troughs. Annoying trying to feed them all. That being said, I unlocked the engram and grabbed some raw metal as well as the other resources, and I made 3 troughs, which I then spaced out from one another so they would cover all the Tusos. I think everyone's... oh, this guy's not in trough range. I think everyone's troughed up. It was also about time I made a few industrial upgrades to my base. More specifically a grill, since cooking meat on a campfire is really slow. I need to make myself a grill, dude. I'm still using a campfire. I feel poor.
Like, if you're a broke boy, just say so.
On a side note, I made sure to keep leveling the Tusos' HP with their passively gained levels. Back to the grill though. I unlocked the engram, and looking at the crafting requirements, I just needed some metal, which I happen to have loads of, so I transferred some of that into the fabricator and then made the grill. Man, I need a bigger base. Once again, the handful of foundations that I was living on was running out of real estate, so I had to go out and farm some thatch to craft up a few extra foundations. After firing up the grill, I noticed even this got a little update in the color of the flames. A neat detail, I guess. There we go. Food problem solved. Okay, I'm wanting to make more cryopods when I eventually have to transfer Usos to the obelisk. Plus, I was also quite a bit richer now than the first time that I was making cryopods. So I grabbed all the resources that I needed and headed out on one of the boss Tusos. When I then arrived at the toxic waste zone, I pieced up a few of the local megalodons for XP. Oh, and Carl's long-lost brothers weren't safe for me either. Just can't pass up on donkeys since they heal my Tuso so quick. Oh, never mind. Looks like I've got that mode turned on. Yeah, on second thought, I didn't really feel like relogging just to kill a single donkey. So I swam over to the obelisk and threw all the resources into a terminal and got to crafting all the cryopods. Now, with a total of 15 new cryos made, I packed up everything and started heading back. But getting through certain parts of the map was slightly challenging due to shallow waters and random rocks. Bruh, am I stuck? Okay, dude, I am so struggling to get through this. And I didn't want to cryo my Tuso because I didn't want to have to deal with the pressure sickness again. So I wiggled my way through and returned back to the crib to sort out my stuff. Tributes. I forget what I need. I should have just taken a screenshot or something. I know I need those swordfish blades. How many of those do I have? 2? 3. I was willing to bet the real number that I needed was 10, so I was about to go out and hunt down the remaining 7 swordfish, but I got slightly distracted. No, I know you're gonna jump on my desk, dude. Looking in the Carl, he was holding onto a decent amount of wood, and seeing that my forges still had raw metal but weren't actually cooking them, I decided to split it into them. I don't know if I'll need the metal, but whatever. The addiction must be fed, and it stretches beyond just smacking metal rocks. Okay, let's go find those swordfish. I think I'm definitely probably gonna end up taking each Tuso out to heal off a few donkeys before we do the boss fight on day 100. Anywho, I soon spotted the first victim all by himself, so I consumed him whole and yoinked the blade. Oh, whoa. Chill out with the bleed damage, dude. Chill out. No need to do all that. And soon the 6 swordfish swam straight into me, so I just need 4 more now. Oh, 150. I don't really care to tame them anymore.
I forgot. You're broken. I don't want to play with you anymore.
No, cat. Why are you an idiot? Just punch my monitor. Stop. Why are you like this? Why do you punch the monitor? You're so annoying. Anyways, now I just need 2 blades, and one of which I spotted next to an alpha megalodon that I also wanted to take out for experience. I need 1 more blade, then I'll help kill this alpha megalodon. Okay, got all the blades I believe that I need. Now onto the alpha shark that was harassing a group of donkeys. I tried to help out Carl's distant family, but instead they insisted on trying to bite me instead of the megalodon, so they had to go along with it. Got it. And that's all the levels this thing needs. I'm trying to just remember. Whoa! What's all this about? Has that always been there? Hold up. Has this always been spinning like this? I don't remember seeing those circles so active before, so I headed over to investigate. I swear this hasn't been going like this the whole time, has it? I got closer out of curiosity, and soon I came to a shocking discovery. Why am I getting shocked? What does this do? It's spawning creature. It's a portal. What happens if I go in? I'm going. The answer is absolutely nothing. I could swim right through it as if it didn't even exist, but new creatures kept appearing out of the portal, including a few interesting ones. What? What is that? Oh my god. It's just a portal. It just spawns a ton of creatures. Okay. Yeah, what's up with all that? They clearly wanted the smoke, but my Tuso wasn't in the healthiest of conditions right now, so I inked in their face and then dipped. I parked my Tuso back at base, not thinking much of it, but that pesky wyvern followed me all the way back home. It followed me all the way back here? I killed the water dragon, which was level 210, and it gave me a ton of levels in return. Holy levels. That's crazy though. I'm gonna make this box dedicated. It attributes. Waking up on day 57, I actually had to go back to the obelisk to see exactly what tributes that I was missing. Alright, I'm gonna go back to the obelisk, see what I need, and probably heal up this Tuso as well. I'm just gonna have to do this. It's gonna suck, but I'm gonna have to do it for all of them. They've got to heal 75k health in just over 40 days. I don't know if that's possible. On that note, I headed out on the first boss Tuso. Getting stuck at the shallow pass-through, I got pulled up on by a gang of angry chihuahuas. Oh, chill out, dude. Alright, why am I stuck? You'd think piranhas would look at an enormous squid and try their best to stay away, but no. Instead, these pests swim up to it and start nibbling away at it just to get obliterated. This channel is so annoying to get through. Anyways, I finally made it to the obelisk, so I noted the tributes down. Yep, Megalodon teeth. I need Sarco skins, the artifact. I have not seen a single Spino. Where does a guy get a Spino? In the abyssal zone, maybe? I'm not sure. There were also Sarco spawning in the toxic waste area, so I got to work on collecting their skins while also abducting unsuspecting donkeys for health. I continued assaulting the alligator population into day 58, and this Master Ukwe clone got caught in the crossfire, making it pretty upset with me. Oh! It was pretty agile considering it's a turtle, but it couldn't stand up against my boss Tuso for long. Anyways, I now just need 3 more Sarco skins. Okay, that's all the Sarco skins, so now I just need, pretty sure, the artifact and Spino cells. I have not seen a single Spino this whole video. I'm gonna have to do some serious research for that. I'm assuming they spawn in the abyssal zone, which really does cause a problem. A baryonyx could actually be a good tame, because I can swim it down in the water and then walk it down there, or just throw it out down there. That might be the move. I think that's the move. I also got this idea that I could grab the berry with my Tuso and then dismount and knock it out, but the plan got foiled since when you dismount off a Tuso, it releases whatever it's holding. So I'm gonna have to do it the good old-fashioned way. Okay, let's go back to base and get trinks. Before committing to anything though, there's still a big chunk of the map that I haven't been to yet. I've still never explored on this side of the map though. Let me go over there and check what's going on over here in this corner. Like a proper underwater city. Whoa. Behind said city, there appeared to be some sort of corrupted island, but that was outside of the world border. Doesn't look like there's much back here. A whole lot of extinction ruins covered by sea foliage. I mean, it's just straight up extinction assets, but it's cool, I guess. But there's a sort of hidden way deeper down into the ocean that led to an interesting area that I had to explore. Hold up, it looks like there's something down here. And a ton of trilobites as well, so I started farming pearls while at it. Oh, what's your problem? The Ammonites gave me the rage debuff, so everything started to attack me, but that kind of worked in my favor as I just annihilated anything that crossed my Tuso's tentacles. Neat place, just like a giant cave with a bunch of entrances. I'm still yet to see a cave though for the artifact that I need. Okay, that's just not necessary. Pretty cool spot, but it didn't get me any closer to finding the artifact, so I got back to healing my Tuso by harassing donkeys. You guys already know the strategy by now. I finished filling up the health pool of this Tuso on day 59. Okay, another Tuso at 75,000 full health. Boom. So I returned back to base to sort out my stuff and get the taming gear ready.
Baryonyx taming time.
I then started crafting tranks, and for the trap, I just go for a basic 2x2 with ramps. So I hopped on Carl and went out to get the resources farmed up for it.
Let's make the ramps, or unlock them at least.
Finally, now with the trap crafted, I brought Carl back and stored all the excess stuff away.
Alright, let's take another Tuso back out there. I'll make the saddle as well.
I just needed some hides, so I grabbed some fish scales and made the saddle with those. I then hopped on an unleveled Tuso and headed back out to the other side of the map.
Alright, I'm not trying to get through that channel. I'm going the long way. Thing is so annoying. Yeah, let's look for a good Baryonyx.
The first berry I spotted on day 60 was a level 85. Not the worst of first finds, but I definitely needed something a little better than that.
Looking for a good Baryonyx. How hard can this possibly be? There's an alpha megalodon. I should kill that on this just to level this.
Killing that gave me a generous 42 levels, most of which were jumped straight in the melee.
Ooh, good hatchet. Okay, back to looking for a Baryonyx. Man, leave me alone.
There were quite a few of them on my screen, so I just had to look around to spot the right one.
Perfect, 140.
To get him closer to the shore, I would of course have to forcefully move him with my Tuso.
Oh, it's not that deep. It is not that deep.
I was moving at a very slow pace, but it stopped attacking me, so I safely escorted it to land where I would let it go.
Anyways, let's build this trap.
I did goof up a little bit in the fact that I crafted walls instead of doorways, since I was used to making walls from ASA. I slapped them all down though, and then placed the ramps before getting its attention.
Where is it? Oh, it's like dipping.
I put my flippers on to catch up with it and then shot an arrow at it. I then had it follow me into the trap, where I soon realized my mistake might have evolved into a slightly bigger problem.
Oh, I didn't think about this.
Demolishing one of my walls also broke the top one for some reason, so the berry got freed.
Oh, what an idiot. I made walls instead of... Oh, really? I'm gonna wait till it gets to the other side of my Tuso.
I did get stunned again, but I managed to get off and run to the beach while also losing its aggro, so I quickly farmed up a couple of walls. Yes, I just made walls again.
Oh, why did I make walls again? I need to make door frames. I'm such an idiot.
So back to dropping a tree for door frames. This time I actually crafted that, so I placed it down and gave the berry a second shot.
Let's try this again. That was like probably top 10 worst plays I've ever done. Like, that was embarrassing.
With the berry trapped, I could actually get to knocking it out.
That was so easy to knock out. Alright, let's get this dude some prime fish meat. Won't monodons drop that?
After killing one, it turns out they do, so I grabbed that and brought it over to the berry to feast on. And while he was enjoying his meal, I hopped back on my Tuso to go and find donkeys to heal off of.
Is this eel really that committed to getting me?
3 donkeys later, the Baryonyx tamed, so I returned back to shore to saddle it up and get it cryoed.
I think I'll probably breed up some Tusos, just little babies for this guy to kill. Give him some levels.
On my way back to base on day 61, I opened up a supply drop and described the contents perfectly.
That's really useful.
Anyways, I parked the Tuso and enabled mating on the male again to get a few eggs collected.
Let's see how much XP. Should I name this guy? Oh, and he's not acclimated.
Yeah, the baby sacrificial ritual had to be put on pause as I needed the berry to acclimate to the pressure.
Man, this thing goes up and down so slowly.
Once the pressure sickness dropped to level 1, I threw out the eggs and waited.
So this guy is not going to be much of a fighter at all. He's just going to be like traveler to traverse me through the abyss, hopefully, so I can find Spinos, fish legs.
When the baby Tusos popped out, I started biting them, but that quickly backfired.
Oh, what? The babies can ink?
And turns out the ink was actually effective.
Where'd it go? Hold up. Did that dude actually escape? Did I just lose a baby Tuso?
Eventually, I spotted it trying to hide in plain sight, so this time I hit it with the tail whip attack. Once again, it vanished into thin air, so I had to go looking for it.
Dude, I stunned you. Are you not stunned? Man, this thing's annoying to kill.
And of course, when I found it, I got inked straight away again.
This is so annoying. I'm getting outclassed by a baby Tuso.
I spotted it running for its life above me, so back to biting it.
I'm on to you, dude.
This time I delivered the final blow, and it gave me a decent amount of levels, most of which I pumped into health. The pressure sickness debuff was also gone by now, so I started swimming back down to base. The plan was to throw out the eggs inside my little tunnel so the babies couldn't run away, but this idea also had its flaws.
Alright, you can't swim through these walls, can you? No, you can. Bro.
Well, that's just Aquatica for you. I threw an egg out anyway and I waited. Once it incubated on day 62, I was met with a set of triplets, and as I attacked them, not only did I do less damage because they were mate boosted, but they also scattered when I could see them again.
Why do they ink so much? See, I just lose them. I lost all 3 of the babies. There are gonna be 3 full-grown squids in my base if I don't find them.
I spotted one of them, so of course I pulled up to attack it. After the first ink cleared, I didn't get the debuff again for some reason, so I was easily able to wrap this baby up.
Well, I'm gonna be able to get this guy easily. Boom.
Now I just need to find the other 2.
Yeah, there's just gonna be 2 full-grown squids in my base. Oh, never mind. Oh, it's dead.
Yeah, the Tuso babies starve pretty quickly if you don't feed them, so they never actually had a chance to fully grow up and cause problems.
Alright, whatever. This guy should be good enough to go down into the abyss.
I just had to get him healed up, so I grabbed a ton of fish meat as regular raw meat doesn't work, and I started force feeding him.
Okay, full health. Alright, let's prepare for... what's it called? The abyss.
I loaded on my crossbow with grapples and prepared my Thalassian armor. I also made a new set to replace this set in case I get into a sticky situation. One thing I would definitely need a lot of was cooked meat since it's so cold down there. So I grabbed a bunch from squid and threw it on the grill to cook. Meanwhile, I cryoed up fish legs as I was not about to swim all the way over there on him.
I think this is all that I need. I just need to see that they're down there first, and then I can figure out how to kill them. I think I'll just swim a Tuso over and just leave that outside.
I hopped on one of the unleveled Tusos, but I did a quick 180 to grab the cooked meat off the grill. And that's when I also spotted the last of the escapee baby squids.
Oh, dead squid right here.
Anywho, I grabbed the meat and headed over to the abyssal zone.
Oh, that portal thing's going. I don't want to fight a bunch of creatures.
I kept my distance from the portals and I swam straight down to the edge of the abyss. So I parked my Tuso by the ramp, swam in, and threw out fish legs to continue into the depths.
Should probably get this dude some fish meat before, just to keep him fed.
Luckily, there happened to be a generous donator right next to the Tuso, so I swatted him out of the ocean and transferred the meat over to Barry.
This area does kind of freak me out. I won't.
Looking into the abyss, there was a river right beneath the ramp where it would make the most sense for Spinos to spawn. But the only thing that I saw from up here were Rexes and crabs.
I'm really fine to run into anything but shadow mains. Shadow mains will clap me.
I'd also want to stay away from these colorful theories, and this one was a crazy level 2. As a side note, I wasn't actively freezing to death anymore, probably thanks to that red abyssal pearl that I found in the depths of the ocean cave.
And that's a reaper. Okay, you see, this is where I start to have problems.
I was seeing all sorts of creatures, but no Spinos yet, even in the overglowy rivers where you'd expect to see some.
Oh, what killed the Rex? Lila. Much rather be on one of those right now, but oh my god, there's one right there. A Yudi? I just heard a Yudi roar.
Anyhow, I jumped down to the giant rib cage, so I could go to what looked to be a river.
Oh, there's my mud puppy. I'm sorry, dude, I'm not saving you. This isn't a river. This is just fog. I mean, I guess since this is fog and not a river, it makes sense there's no Spinos, but I swear I've explored literally everywhere on the map. I don't know where Spinos could be spawning.
Following the fog led me to a new part of the abyss, where I was reintroduced to toxic fumes of the oceans and weird electricity sparks in some random places.
Oh, toxic gases. Electricity.
The farther I traveled, the more uncanny it felt, but I was determined to find these Spinos.
Okay, this is looking like some boss fight never returned stuff, so I'm gonna go back the way I came.
There were quite a few not so friendly creatures starting to gather around, so I decided this was the best time to head out. I crowed up fish legs and grappled back up to land, where I then threw fish back out.
I'm a little lost.
The last thing I expected was to get jump scared by a rave light glitch.
Oh my god, what is happening? Dude, that just scared the crap out of me.
A few seconds later, I aggroed a whole Reaper, so now I couldn't really wander about. I've got to go quickly.
It's time to run and to not look back. Oh my god.
I got flung straight into a corner, so I quickly hopped off to use my grapple to safety.
I'm sorry, fish legs. Is it gonna live? There's a geyser.
Since the Reaper buried itself, I just decided to deal with the crab, so I began shooting arrows at it. Soon it collapsed, so I could safely jump back down to fish legs and hop on to test the geyser out.
Oh, does this get me out? Boom! Just like that.
I could not have imagined a better getaway than that. I put my flippers back on and headed down to my Tuso.
So, no Spinos down there. However, I did actually end up joining the official Ark Aquatica Discord, and I asked where Spinos spawn, and they said go to the bottom left. I assume that means the bottom left of the map. I'm already there.
I started heading upwards first, and something was definitely up with the portal. It was doing even more weird sorcery now.
Why is that portal looking even crazier now? What is happening?
Getting closer to check on it, it was still spawning dinos as before. Crazy levels, that is. That was not my biggest concern though right now, so I continued my journey towards the bottom of the map.
Spinos usually like beaches, so maybe they're all the way at the top here.
I swam up to the surface and very quickly realized something is definitely going on with the map. The entire sky was torn in half.
What is happening? That's terrifying. I'm just gonna go about my business as normal. Pretend that everything is fine. Nothing's happening. This is looking like a place where Spinos can spawn.
Anywho, I somehow ended up getting the Tusto stuck, so I cryoed it and threw out fish legs instead. I then swam over to a drop which had a crazy Anki saddle inside.
Oh, that's very useful. Alright, this is the most Spino place a Spino could ever spawn. Why am I not seeing any?
As a matter of fact, there are almost no creatures living here at all.
Is it getting bigger?
After opening up my map, I realized I was nowhere near the bottom of the map, so I started heading over there even though this whole area looked like prime Spino spawning grounds.
I'm kinda wondering if dino spawns aren't working correctly. That was a beaver, what? Taxpayers? Never mind, dino spawns are working just how they should. I have not collected taxes in so long.
The inner IRS started itching me and I spotted even more dams just chilling out in the open.
There's more. I have to collect them. I can't resist.
And on day 65, I spotted the first Spino of this challenge.
Spino.
So I threw the Tuso back out and got to work on collecting the sails.
One Spino sail, boom.
I cried up fish legs to continue the hunt on the Tuso and I soon found the second victim.
Yeah, this is definitely where the Spinos spawn. Whoa, 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 whoa! Okay, I guess it's just gone like that? Look, why is it white now? Clouds? Okay, I think everything's back to normal. I don't really know what that was. I'm gonna go back to killing Spinos. That's what I feel comfortable doing right now.
There was also an Alpha Rex chilling on the small island as well as a car, so I got as close as I could to try and kill it.
It looks like I am gonna get a fight. I'm gonna mop it.
Now killing it gave me 22 levels which all went into melee, putting it up to 1500. Not the strongest, but definitely up there amongst my strongest Tusos.
So this river seems to, or this channel I should say, seems to be the only place where I can find Spinos. Interesting.
So while waiting for new ones to appear, I decided to head back home to clear out my inventory a bit.
I guess whatever was happening in the sky had something to do with that ring down there. Because now it just looks like it's charging rather than going crazy.
Anywho, I sorted out my stuff into the storage boxes and kind of just stared off into oblivion for the rest of the day. On day 66, I hopped on the back of the Tuso and headed back to kill a few Spinos and get the rest of the sails. On my way over, I stopped by and spyglassed a few Monodons as I actually wanted to start breeding them. Since I couldn't find any good levels though, I just continued swimming over to the Spinos. Now, with the 6 remaining sails acquired, I returned back to shallow waters to look for Monodons. And I was actually able to find a level 145 by the end of the day. So on day 67, I tamed it and stuffed it into a cryopod before returning back to base to deploy it again. All that just to swim straight up because it got level 2 pressure sickness as usual. I did however bring a male with me, so I waited for cryo sickness to wear off before throwing that out and enabling mating on both of them. I also waited around for gestation and eventually a new baby Monodon was brought into this world. Unfortunately though, it didn't get the good melee stats, so just as fast as it came to be, it also came to, well, not be. Anyhow, I brought both of the Monodons back down the base and continued the breeding process. The second baby came to life on day 68 and he actually had a twin brother as well. Luckily for them though, they got the good melee, so I grabbed some raw fish meat for them to munch on. And the third baby got the good melee as well, so it got to live on with its brothers. The fourth and fifth baby Monodons were born on day 69. For now, I paused the breeding on the parents and I focused on getting all the babies fully raised and imprinted. In the meantime, I also collected some fibers so I can make them all saddles. On day 70, I hopped on one of the boss Tusos and quickly stocked up on sushi by annihilating a group of hammerhead sharks. Now, with my troughs refilled, I just had to wait for my Monodons to grow up, so for the rest of the day, I had an intense staring contest with my inventory.
Okay, I need to figure out how to get the artifact.
Other than the artifact, I just needed a couple of Megalodon teeth, so I hopped on the Tuso and headed out to get that. Now, with all the tributes collected, I could head back home and actually look into where I could find the artifact.
Okay, so I did some research on how to actually get the artifact of the mighty, which is the one I need for the boss fight, and with just my luck, a lot of the cave is out of water, but it still has cave dinos, so I'm gonna need a good way to kill them. And I came to the conclusion that I'm gonna try and make these Thalassian rifles, which are pretty expensive, and then where do I make the bullets for them? So basically I'm gonna do a lot of farming, but I really have no other way to kill wild cave dinos besides this, so this is my best bet. I did have that Ascendant Thalassian rifle blueprint, but the sheer amount of steel, polymer, and crystal I needed to craft it was just ludicrous. Anyways, I hopped on Carl and swam out to look for the manganese nodes since I needed steel instead of metal. I also munched on a few oversized seaweeds for wood and then returned back to base to get it all smelting. I'm probably gonna have to make a few of these rifles because they will be primitive. Probably not gonna do that much damage. I'm gonna let this smelt. I need to farm more. For some reason it takes raw manganese. It's weird.
When I returned back to the crib on day 73, I looked into my forges and realized that the steel was smelting at a pretty slow rate. So I grabbed a bunch of resources and I headed out to farm up for more forges. With that slight increase in production speed now done, I grabbed some more steel and I made the first couple of Thalassian rifles before hopping on the back of Carl to get even more wood. And with that, I made another couple of forges and filled them up with wood and manganese. And I also started crafting bullets.
Alright, let's go test this on creatures in this bubble. Okay, this does look cool, but why are the textures like aren't rendered on it? Ark Aquatica experience, I guess. So does it work underwater? Yeah, okay, good, it does. I just shot my own Tuso. My bad, dude.
Running into the bubble on day 74, I set my sights on a level 45 Stega, the perfect candidate for testing purposes.
Well, 45? Alright, let's see if I can't kill it. Okay, so it's not crazy strong, but it's not crazy weak either. So I'm gonna craft a few of them and then a whole lot of bullets.
When I got back to base, I looked into the forges to see that the new ones weren't actually smelting the manganese into steel.
Why aren't these smelting? Oh, do they only cook when they have metal ingots in there? So they consume metal.
Yeah, I had no idea the steel was secretly eating through my metal stock. But it was good to know so I could actually get a bunch of steel cooking. That being said, I hopped on the back of Carl to continue his unpaid labor, as well as help me satisfy my metal farming desires. Then, when I returned back, I split it all into the forges and looked into the fabricator to make more rifles.
How many rifles do I really want? Whoa, wait, what is this stuff? Oh, this is like Riot. That's not that expensive. It looks cool too. Okay, I just gotta go get more polymer.
On that note, I hopped on one of the boss Tusos on day 75, and I headed down to the Toxin Waste Zones to farm a few crabs.
Man, where are the crabs at? Whoa, 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 let's chill, let's chill.
There was also a white supply drop with a bunch of random stuff down there, so I grabbed it all and despawned all the useless stuff. Basically, pretty much everything. Anywho, I clapped one more crab, which caused me to trip again and headed back home to unlock the Thalassian Breach set.
See how this set of armor looks? Okay, that looks pretty cool. You can't lie, but it is just a reskin of Riot.
However, the cave I was preparing to venture into was actually in the lava area, meaning it would probably get hot really quickly, so I wanted to bring my ghillie with me just to try and stay somewhat cool at least. So I whacked up some fiber and I made 2 sets just before the end of the day. On day 76, I took Carl out once again to get more manganese. And then when I returned back home, I continued the bullet production. I also grabbed my tames and moved them over to the fridge and made some grapples. I then threw out fish legs to give him a couple of levels while he got cryoed. I refueled my forges again on day 77, and now I just had to wait for things to smelt and craft before I could head out to get that artifact.
Alright, I'm gonna wait for like one more day just for more bullets to be made. Then I'll go out to the cave and, you know, hopefully get the artifact.
So for the rest of the day, I kind of just waited around my base, transferring resources and crafting more ammunition.
Okay, I'm going to bring a Monodon as well as a Tuso, because there's like alternating water and air parts as well as my baryonyx. Probably gonna bring tank even though I have imprint on these other guys because they just don't have that good of stats right now.
With everything that I needed prepped, I jumped on one of my Tusos and headed out to the surface towards the volcano. I then cryoed my Tuso at the beach just as the volcano became active.
Oh, it's a bad time since it's blown up.
Anywho, I threw out fish legs and started heading up there.
Oh, I don't even have to worry about temperature because I got that pearl thing.
What I did have to worry about though was actually getting up to the volcano.
How do I get up there?
I jumped down into the ocean and swam over to the other side where I was met with an angry Carno that I had to put down. However, following this path also didn't lead up to the volcano though.
I'm about to swim around this whole island trying to get up to the volcano, dude.
Swimming over to the backside, I actually found a way that looked to be promising, so of course I started heading up again. Going down the obvious path, I was getting chased by quite a few dangerous carnivores, so I didn't really stop to try and kill any of them. I instead just kept going up the hill until I arrived beneath the crashed obelisk.
Okay, I think I'm getting to the right area. Oh, here's the obelisk.
On day 79, I found the actual cave entrance thanks to a guide, so I jumped right in with fish legs. At first, I wanted to just run past these carnivores at the entrance, but I had to fight them off, and the Thalassian rifles were actually quite weak.
Yeah, these things not too strong.
Running down to the core of the cave, I could see more dangers such as aloes. Spyglassing one of them, I saw that it was only a level 25, so I started blasting.
I'm helping you, Dodic. The Ankies here are like actual protectors because they can actually sort of fight back.
I could also use them as a distraction to get across. Observe.
Alright, I'm sorry, Ankies. It's gotta be done.
Going deeper into the cave, I came up on quite the herd of Ankies. However, I spotted something a bit more menacing up ahead.
Isn't the water part supposed to be back here?
Oh my god. So turning right back around, I chose to go another way. One that had a couple of Arthros instead of a whole Alpha Carno. Also, the Thalassin rifle was pretty good against Arthros as it dealt triple damage.
Okay, here's the water part that I need.
I put fish legs into my back pocket and threw out the Tuso to continue through the water section.
Oh, nothing's gonna aggro me in here with the Tuso. Might as well just kill everything though.
The next part of the underwater section had a small choke point my Tuso couldn't actually fit through. So I waited for my cryo sickness to fade before throwing out fish legs and continuing on him.
Assuming I'm supposed to go down here? Okay, yeah, this is where the water ends. Oh my god.
And this is where the fun begins.
This is where I get the blasting.
At least the levels weren't crazy high as these weren't cave creatures. Even fish legs could actually deal with some of them.
And this place is huge.
There was a lot more ground to cover with even more creatures to kill though. So I stopped by for a second and started sniping everything up ahead.
So I've got a vague idea on where I need to go. I know the artifact's up. I need to use grapples to get up. This is an interesting cave, that's for sure. I think I need to get up there, so I gotta clear out this lower level area.
One thing I wouldn't shoot at though are these Megalanias. They have a lot of health and you can generally just leave them alone if you keep your distance.
Yeah, the artifact's right up there.
I did, however, see more creatures just up ahead that I didn't want to aggro. So I decided just to grapple up there because I didn't feel like going all the way around the entire path. So I cryoed fish legs and on day 80 I activated sneak mode. I grappled to the wall and opened up a parachute, then grappled to the other side and finally up to the artifact undetected. I then snuck up to the artifact and yoinked it.
Artifact of the mighty, bang.
Now to get out of here, which should be easier than getting in. I ran all the way back down to the water section on foot and swam back to my Tuso.
Boom, I'm here. Get out of here. Oh, no, did I just crash? No. I'm back. Oh, I'm just lagging so bad.
I got the Tuso cryoed and I exited the laggy area. I was probably right on the edge of loading and unloading the cave, which is why I froze a couple of times.
That had me so worried. Let's get out of here. I don't want to have to... Oh.
Luckily, getting out was as simple as running through the already cleared path. And I also found a way straight down into the ocean, making my life just a bit easier. So I cryoed up fish legs and threw the Tuso back out and then swam back home. Once I arrived, I sorted out my stuff and unlocked the artifact pedestal, for which I needed obsidian, so Carl had to exit retirement once again. I then placed the pedestal in front of the grill and put the new artifact up for display.
Okay, so this looks completely different than the artifact that I just picked up in the cave. That's interesting. Doesn't even fit on the pedestal. I don't know how I feel about the look of this. This looks very interesting to say the least. I don't know. Happy I have it though.
Waking up on day 81 after a scheduled procedure that I had to go through was tough, but I pushed on nonetheless.
Okay. So, about 6 hours ago, I got my wisdom teeth pulled out. So if I sound funny or sound like a chipmunk, it's because I feel like a chipmunk. But I'm still locked in making this video for you guys. Let's do it. Why are my forges so loud? Okay, so I believe I have everything. You know, a boss. My tames are looking rough. A lot of these Tusos need leveled and healed.
I also heard the boss of this map could damage me, the rider. So I would have to come prepared with a bunch of armor. Anyhow, I hopped on one of the unleveled Tusos and headed out to find some free XP. I was hoping to find an alpha of some sorts, but I couldn't pass up on Dunkleos as the Tuso also needed to do a lot of healing.
Gonna have to do this for a lot of my Tusos anyway. This is gonna take days upon days.
Fortunately for you guys though, y'all don't have to sit through and watch me level and munch down on a bunch of countless donkeys one by one. Instead, you just get to see an epic montage.
So fully healed and leveled. On to another.
The process remained the same, except this time I stopped by a loot drop once again full of random resources. However, as I turned around and left, I looked up to find an enormous red sausage swimming above. So of course I had to intervene and start tickling the giant beast. However, just like the last Alpha Moza I fought, it started running away every now and then. This time though, I was on a Tuso instead of tank, so chasing it was not an issue and I was able to put it down relatively quickly. The Dunkleo bullying continued into day 83.
Another one level.
After returning to my base, I looked through my tames and my narwhals were nearly starving, so I killed a couple of donkeys and brought the fresh fish meat down for my trough.
Okay, so since I've been informed that the boss Can hit you off the back of your tames. I want to make more of this armor.
In other words, I would be in need of a lot of silica pearls and polymer, so I could kill 2 birds with 1 stone by going out to kill crabs with another 2 so. That is until I spotted this menace out in the ocean.
Alphadocasaurus, what? I did not know this is a thing. Hold up.
Leave me alone, please leave me alone.
Got it.
I brought all the hide that I got back to base and stored it away before heading out to continue my routine donkey harassment session. I then swam down to the toxic area on day 85 to conduct some quick business with the crabs, and the hallucinogenic corpses too apparently. Now with a bunch of fiber outsourced, I could head back home. I then loaded up the fabricator and crafted up yet another set of Aquatica riot gear. I also repaired my scuba tank and made a few extra pieces.
Okay, how many more do I have to level and heal? 2. Yeah.
That being said, I hopped on one of the 2 and headed out. I then opened up a supply drop containing nothing of interest before heading over to shallow waters where the donkeys love to hang around.
Okay, so I currently have, I'm sure you can hear, I have ice packs on my cheeks right now because I look like a squirrel with a bunch of nuts in my mouth. So anyway, I'm gonna keep, doing my business here, but just don't judge the way I sound. If I see one single comment flaming me, I will find you.
Anywho, I clapped this alpha megalodon, and while doing so, I somehow angered the entire ocean's population. A couple of left clicks sorted out all those though, so I can continue with my business. With this Tuso now fully healed, I headed back to the crib to devise a quick plan of action while leveling the last Tuso.
Okay, so since I found that pearl that gave me the super big buff or whatever, I'm thinking there's some other hidden stuff on this map. So before, or really as I wrap up this 100 days and go fight the boss, I want to see what's all out there. So let's do some exploring.
That being said, I headed out to the lava biome to look around a bit more.
I want to tame a seahorse. How do you tame these?
I assumed that it would just be a basic knockout tame, so I headed back home to grab my tranks.
Do I not oh my god. Do I not have any tranks? Oh, there we go. Surely these can't take that many tranks to knock out, right?
To answer that question, I headed right back to the lava biome on day 87, and I found a bunch of other seahorses just hanging around.
Oh, this one's just straight up dead. Okay, nice.
I spotted a level 140 that was alive, so I first swam up to it to make sure that it wasn't a passive tame.
Definitely a knockout tame. So now, clear out the area of any nasties, aka these guys.
After clapping the 2 Mosas, I looked back to see that the seahorse was fighting a megalodon, and it wasn't exactly winning.
No! It's running though, that's good.
I killed the megalodon and swam up to the little guy, but he was way too bloody for me to start tranking out right now.
Alright, I got an idea. I pressed the wrong button. Oh my god, I meant to pick it up.
The idea was to grab one of them and carry it all the way back home where I could safely knock it out and tame it. So I continued swimming around looking for another high level. This level 130 would work just fine, so I grabbed it and slowly carried it all the way back to base. And once I arrived on day 88, I let go of Lil Bro and made sure my tames were on passive and then got to shooting.
Oh, this thing's fast. Oh, and it's stuck.
And it only took 2 more shots to knock out. I quickly jumped on a Tuso and headed out to get some prime meat. But when I actually fed the little guy, I realized he might have not had the most carnivorous of diets.
Is it a herbivore?
So I picked a few berries, fed the seahorse, and it started taming. I also may or may not have fallen right into the big dome by accident.
Oh!
Anywho, I returned back to base to craft a saddle for it.
Seaweed, pearls, and fish scales.
I had the fish scales and pearls, but I forgot how I could get seaweed.
Okay, so it tamed. Now I just need to get seaweed for the saddle. Oh my god, I did again.
On day 89, I headed back out to the lava biome on the back of a Tuso to get seaweed from these red bushes. Then, when I returned, I crafted the saddle and threw it on the seahorse to test it out.
So these things do seem to be pretty weak.
They did have a ranged spit attack, however the damage of the spit was laughable, and the melee headbutt didn't redeem itself either.
Oh yeah, these things are super weak.
Not sure why anyone would tame these, to be honest. Perhaps there's some hidden feature that makes them useful. I don't really know, nor do I care.
Oh, since they're herbivores, they don't eat fish meat. Yeah, so these things are terrible.
So I stuffed the little guy into a cryopod and threw him into a storage box for the end of the time. I then grabbed a bunch of fish meat and filled up one of the troughs as my megalodons were still pretty close to starving.
Alright, now let's explore.
I swam back to the lava biome and I headed into what appeared to be another cave under the volcano.
Dude, this is a giant cave that I think I'm yet to see.
Inside, I found a whole alpha Tuso, and since the Tuso I was on still wasn't maxed out yet, I got to tickling it. Of course, as the alpha got low on health, it started to ink and run around in circles, but its survival attempts are all in vain and it got clapped, giving me the levels that I needed. After exiting the cave and swimming along the edge of the map, I returned to the mysterious cave that had the magical red pearl that I picked up, and inside I was greeted by an impolite pack of eels which were quickly dealt with.
Oh yeah, it's another one of these things. Just give me element, I guess.
I killed the oversized clam again for the 10 element that I will never use and continued throughout the cave.
I've really seen like 100% of the map now. And there's no denying the map does look really cool, even though it is a bunch of reused assets. You can't argue with that, but it's definitely not in the state that it needed to be. This map needed to be on Ark Survival Ascended, and there would have been next to zero issues if it was made by Wildcard on Ascended.
At its current state, this map feels like a more unfinished mod made by the community more than an official release. The missing textures, straight up copied extinction structures, and other assets, it's just a whole mess. But there was still one thing that I needed to examine before drawing the final conclusions, and that would be the boss fight itself. So on that note, I swam back to base to grab all of my empty cryopods and start prepping for when the day of reckoning eventually draws on us.
Okay, let's start moving my teams out to the obelisk. Gonna have to do 2 trips. This guy doesn't have health. I need to heal this guy.
With that Tuso healed up on day 92, I crowd up one more squid before heading out to deploy the first batch of the army at the obelisk.
This is gonna be so annoying to get all the Tusos like this. Get them all to fit. They're just so big. But they'll wipe the boss, that's for sure.
With the first batch of the army dispatched on day 93, I headed back home to grab the rest.
Whoa, where are these things coming from?
Not sure how that Reaper offspring even got here since the spawn seemed to get fixed already, but it was nothing more than a slight inconvenience anyway. I got the rest of my army crowd up and headed back to the obelisk on day 94. I did, however, take a bit of a detour when I spotted something that looked like a cave that I'm yet to explore in the giant crystal area.
A cave? Oh, this is a cave. What?
Curious, I headed in but got chased out immediately.
Oh, whoa! This is a cave. Okay, bye-bye. Not what I'm interested in.
So back to the obelisk is where I went, and I parked my monodons in between the giant squids before fitting the last few Tusos. Now, with my army ready on standby at the terminal, I headed back home. On day 95, I grabbed all the scuba tanks, repaired my armor, and made an extra set, you know, just in case.
Could be able to make up a cooker real quick? Surely I can make a cooker for med brews.
I had tons of metal ingots and oil, and the only things I needed were polymer and paste, so I headed out to get that real quick. On day 96, I returned to base just to turn right back around and head back into the ocean since I forgot to get polymer.
Whoa, it's chill. That's enough poly though, I think.
This time, I got back home with everything that I needed to actually make the cooker.
Now I need to farm narco berries and tinto berries real quick and make as many med brews as I can before day 100, or day 99 really. Why is this like golden?
Anywho, I placed it next to my toilet and I looked for Perry in the fridge, but he wasn't there. I did, however, grab the seahorse, as that could probably farm berries as well, considering it's a herbivore and has virtually no other use.
Oh yeah, this is how I'm farming berries.
There's nothing like a quick underwater lawn mowing montage 3 days before the boss fight. And turns out the ocean was much richer in clean edible berries than land.
Oh my god. This thing is a crazy berry harvester, and I'm just finding out about it.
Okay, maybe my first impression of the seahorse was a little too harsh, but you can't blame me. I mean, it literally spits at things and does no damage. Since it's so good at getting berries though, I quickly hopped on Carl and munched up a bunch more stone. I then made a couple extra mortar and pestles to speed up the narcotic production. I was actually able to cook up a decent amount of medical brews by the end of day 97.
And after these make up, I'm swimming out to the obelisk.
With almost 400 brews in my pocket, I grabbed the artifact off the pedestal, all the tributes from my storage box, and got ready to head out.
Alright, I got everything I need. Got Pepperoni V4. Oh, where are you going? Let's go. Aquatica has been mixed. That's the best way to put it. Mixed. Okay. See ya, Carl. I'm gonna go beat the boss. Hopefully.
With my final goodbye said, I slowly made my way over to the obelisk once again.
This is very cursed to look at.
While waiting for the inevitable day of reckoning, the sky once again turned red and ominous.
Oh, okay, the world is ending once again. And I have hiccups right before the boss fight. Great.
The giant crack in the sky was the least of my concerns now though, as before I even knew it, day 100 rolled around and it was time for the final stretch for this new DLC.
Okay, it is day 100 on Aquatica. It's been an interesting experience, that's for sure. I have hiccups. My mouth is swollen. I got my teeth ripped out yesterday. And I have no idea if I'm gonna beat this boss, but overall, Aquatica was a decent experience. It definitely could have been executed a lot better. Let's see how this boss goes. But still, I will always say, screw Snail Games.
I loaded up all the tributes and started the alpha boss fight.
Alright, my plan is to just get in here, jump on the back of one of my Tusos, and then go ham.
However, that plan would come to a rapid shift when I actually teleported into the arena.
Dude, my Tusos didn't teleport in. My Tusos did not teleport in. Are you kidding? They're too big? No way. This is an underwater map. Are you serious?
So it was right about now when I found out Tusos weren't allowed in the boss arena for some reason, even though that's literally an underwater map. At the very least, I had my small army of Monodons, and they were decently strong too. It looked very interesting and cool, but I had no idea why it was so big and my Tusos weren't even allowed to get in. Anyways, I swam down to where I soon spotted the boss health bar.
Oh, it's like a giant jaw type thing. Is this the boss?
At first, I thought the enormous head could be the boss, but as I got closer, I saw you could actually swim into its mouth.
Oh, that is the boss.
I whistled all of my narwhals to attack the thing, but they all kind of just stared at me instead.
It's not attacking me. Man, this thing is ugly. Oh, now it's attacking.
And it started flailing its arms in random directions, almost immediately destroying my scuba tank.
Oh my god, there goes my scuba.
My Monodons were just observing the situation, and not a single one of them was listening to my commands.
My Monodons are not attacking. Why aren't they attacking? What's going on here?
I tried leaving the giant jaw to recoup and see what was wrong with my narwhals. The only thing that they responded to was the follow whistle, so I left all of them outside and headed back in to try a different strategy.
Okay, maybe I can laser beam it just from a distance? Is it immune to ranged attacks? It definitely is.
With another plan foiled, I had no other options left but to slowly peck at the boss with my one Monodon and take hits with my own character.
Ooh.
It was becoming pretty clear to me that I've just been completely bamboozled by Snail Games. Not only did my squids not get into a fight, but the Monodons, which seemed like the only other viable option to fight the boss with, were completely ignoring the boss. Oh, and on top of all of that, the laser beam attack, the strongest attack these narwhals have absolutely no effect on this giant lobster.
This is so cursed. Let me go get my Monodons. Why won't they attack it? My Tusos would destroy this thing.
I also tried to shoot it with a Salassian rifle, but as you might expect, this boss is just built different and is not even phased by ranged attacks.
Yep, it's just immune to ranged attacks. That's so stupid.
If I could get my Monodons to attack it, I would at least have a chance of beating it, but they were all completely brainwashed.
This is so stupid. Attack it. Alright, this is the Snail Games experience, I guess.
Even set the neutral, they didn't care about the boss actively whooping my butt.
Bro.
All of that and the boss could actually hit you off the back of tames. This whole fight made absolutely no sense. And the animation of its attacks were also pretty goofy, but that's just the least of my problems.
Oh, and there goes all my armor.
With nothing to protect me anymore, all I could do is powerlessly nibble at the big lobster until it clapped me and Pepperoni V4.
Alright, I changed my opinion on Aquatica. I hate it and I hate everyone. And I hate that my Monodons would not fight back. My Tusos didn't get teleported in, even though they're underwater creatures on an underwater map. Tell me, what's up with that?
I honestly was at a loss for words, as I couldn't do anything but watch as the boss aimlessly flailed its arms around, inevitably killing me and ending this challenge on a fat loss. The map itself and the idea of a purely aquatic map for Ark is a cool concept. However, the execution of this whole DLC is just a joke. Tons of game-breaking bugs and glitches, such as my dinos literally getting consumed by the back rooms, missing textures on resources and structures, random unexplainable spawns. This map just feels like an unfinished mod. Definitely not an official release from Ark, not the Ark I know at least. But as I said before, Wildcard isn't to blame here. It's Snail Games specifically and Snail Games only. If this was a DLC done by Wildcard on ASA, none of these issues would have ever existed, and it probably would have been one of their greatest maps of all time. Anyways, that's enough of Aquatica for now. I still tried my best to enjoy the map despite the circumstances, and overall the experience wasn't straight up unplayable. So I want to say thank you for sitting through and watching this emotional roller coaster that was Aquatica. I'll see you in the next video, and say with me now, screw Snail Games.